Welcome into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you on this Monday afternoon. Darian Newsom producing for us. We're Sports Time, and we're with you for the next 3 hours. So much to get into today as we had a busy weekend of college football, week 1 in the NFL. So a ton to get into, like I said, over these next 3 hours. Monday Night Football tonight between the Jets and the 49ers. Darian is rocked out in all of his 49ers gear, so he is definitely ready for tonight's game. So we'll talk a lot about that and what happened over the weekend. But Brett, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing great, and this is the week we've been waiting for since the contract was signed, and it really felt like from the announcement of that game that the Memphis Tigers were building to something really, really special, the crescendo, and even with a win, that's not the end of it. But this is Beat FSU week, and a week that's going to be a lot of fun and breaking down that game. Can't wait to Saturday at 11. I'll be able to watch all the games. We don't play until late.
Yeah.
But, Darian, you are looking good in your Nick Bosa get up.
Yeah, thank you, good sir.
That is Nick Bosa. That's not Bryant Young, is it?
No, it's not Bryant Young. It is 100% Nick Bosa.
Okay.
I try to keep it updated.
Well, Bryant Young's in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, yeah, he is. Definitely is. Oh, yeah, definitely is. He and Stubblefield. Absolutely.
After Nick Bosa, they could look at a dual ceremony putting 97
Yeah.
retired.
Well, speaking of Hall of Fame, you know Frank Gore goes into the 49er Hall of Fame tonight at halftime.
How about that?
So that was the main reason that I wanted to go, guys.
Wow.
Because I was a big Frank Gore guy. I really wanted to go, but
How could you not be?
life happens. But
All-time leading rusher in 49er history.
Yeah.
he got his red jacket on yesterday. He will be honored tonight at halftime.
Wow, I didn't know that. So add that to the list of people honored over the weekend. Nick Saban got the field on Saturday, so good stuff.
He did. Now, will that be retired number for Frank Gore? Or
He's going
is
in the
it just in
49er
the
Hall of
49ers
Fame.
Hall?
So I would assume
Okay.
that I can look that up. I didn't know if they're retiring his number, but he's going into the 49er Hall of Fame.
How about that? Good for him.
Yeah, the Coach Saban ceremony was really great. My nephew took his son to the game, and he said the stadium was vibrating during Thunderstruck, and Coach Saban walking down the entranceway kind of by himself for dramatic effect. It was really cool.
Yeah, it's good. I didn't see much of the actual ceremony, but obviously a lot of people posting that video of him.
Well, it was all day.
It was.
It was a real treat.
It sure was. So I saw a lot of it on social media throughout the day, and it looked like a good scene out there.
I mean, they had the unveiling, and they had a couple of different ribbon cuttings.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it was quite the celebration.
Yeah, no, it definitely looked like it, and the current Alabama football team finally decided to show up in the fourth quarter. Just a couple hours late. It's okay, just wanted to give wanted everybody's attention
a lot of
to go on Nick
penalties.
Saban, and then fourth quarter they're like, okay, we'll actually show up to the game and get a lot
of penalties. South Florida outrushed Bama.
No, they absolutely did. That's all they could do. Byron Brown really couldn't throw the ball against Alabama's defense. And so, they turned it to, okay, we're going to turn into Navy or Army or whatever team you want us to be, and we'll just run the ball the entire game. So,
you mentioned those two. Did you see the rushing totals the Army and the Navy racked up this weekend?
I didn't look.
I didn't check out
numbers,
Air Forces,
but I know I watched bits and pieces of both of those games and knew both teams had good days in the office.
Oh, they sure did. Doing what they do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And now both in the Americans, so even more triple option and run offense that you have to worry about. But no, it was it's fun weekend. But you're right. Here locally, everybody's now turning their attention to that big game against Florida State this Saturday. We're going to recap what happened against Troy. We'll talk to Jonah Dillon later in the show about last weekend and obviously this weekend's upcoming game. But this is the big week of the season, especially the early part of the season, going down against that Florida State team, even though they, are 0-2, you get a chance to go down into that environment against that team, that brand, and see what you can do against, a Power 5 opponent.
Yeah, and that could finish FSU off for the year or maybe kickstart them. And for Memphis, it would be a big win. I don't want to be too over the top. I don't know that I would go biggest non-conference game ever. I might have gone there if FSU had been undefeated coming into this. But this is really big with the first year of the college football playoffs and the stakes you're playing for. It's very different than the big non-conference games. You want to think about games with Tennessee a lot of years, and even the historic year of defeating them. It was an historic win, but it was not a historic season by any means for the Tigers in games against Ole Miss and other big non-conference wins. This one I think it can still get people's attention. And you see today, Bryant, the point spread's going up. FSU is. I mean, people are really gravitating to them.
Yeah, and that doesn't surprise me. You know, they had the off week. They've been, they'll now have 2 weeks to get ready for Saturday's game, and if they can, clean things up, then, I'm not surprised that people are betting on Florida State in this matchup. And I was kind of surprised, earlier it was kind of going around 5.5, and, so I always thought it would be around 7.5 or so, maybe even more by the time, they kick off. But it should be a great matchup on Saturday.
Summertime, I thought game week would be around the 9.5, 10-point favorite for FSU. I've loved Memphis all summer. I love Memphis this week, regardless of the point spread, and it still could. I don't think it'll tick up that high. It could, but Bryant, we've buried the lead for you. Where's the Dak Prescott jersey? You need a Dak jersey with big money with a big money symbol on it.
No, I do not and will not. Ever
Why
own
not?
A Dak Prescott.
Why not?
I don't like Dak Prescott.
Okay.
I think he's a okay quarterback. And,
You're the name on the front of the jersey guy, not
absolutely.
the back. Okay.
But I have a Micah Parsons jersey that I was gonna wear, and then I
For our Cowboys, what a win for our Cowboys! What jersey do you suggest I get for our Cowboys?
Well, that's a great question.
Starbucks. That's easy.
That's certainly if you're going,
I want to go old school.
Okay.
And I want to go old school, the blue jersey that they got convinced were jinxie jerseys.
Absolutely.
And I want to go something like Walt Garrison.
I like it. Why not?
Or Cliff Harris.
Sure.
From
Cliff
Wichita
Harris
Baptist,
great.
Cliff Harris.
Shout out.
You like OBU and
I love
Henderson
OBU.
State?
Two of my favorite D2 schools. If I had to do a D2 power ranking, that'd be Henderson State and Wichita Baptist, 1 and 2.
Boy, and in the end of the day, Wichita Baptist the Wichita part could really get mispronounced badly.
Well, I believe it. It doesn't surprise me, but no.
Kind of the overnight news readers. Cliff Harris from
I love that.
Baptist.
That's great.
A lot of things come out.
Yeah, well,
because it doesn't look like it sounds, does it?
It definitely does not. But now, so yesterday morning, I was sitting in church waiting for the church service to start. And I see my phone, notification. Of course, my phone's on silent.
And I'm sending you texts from Busch Stadium.
That's right. And so I look down at my phone and I see Dak Prescott gets new deal, highest paid player ever. And I'll be honest, shame on me. I mean, I wanted to say some things that would not be suitable for a church house.
You don't cuss
after
anywhere.
Dak
You're not going to cuss at
Prescott
the church house.
Got paid the most money in NFL history is ridiculous, and that's coming from a
I don't even think I've ever
lover.
cussed at the church house.
No, I would never cuss at the church house. But I hope not too, Brett. But in that moment, I was mad. I was not very
Well,
happy
that's not true.
with the decision.
In church league basketball, I did.
Well,
so.
it gets a little.
So that's not true. So I've compounded cursing at the church house with a lie.
Wow, I mean that's.
Well, I got a lot to go over, don't I, dude?
Old devout Brett.
Good Lord. But, I mean, Dak looked good yesterday. He looked fine,
I think it was set up. I think it was 100% marketing.
100%.
100% marketing. The more I look at the Cowboys
worked
and
for
how
the
they
back-to-back.
operate. Yeah. But when you weren't surprised, because Dak didn't look surprised.
No.
Not
And so
all.
here's
Well,
the
hold
thing.
it, Darren. Hold it. Breaking news sounder. Darren, you're saying Jerry Wayne Jones likes the sizzle sales effect?
How about that?
What? No, not
Wow.
him.
Opening day.
No.
I mean, the whole nine. The only
Mr.
thing that could have made
Low-key.
it better if it was at home.
Here's the thing. Yeah, I mean, Jerry Jones wakes up. The Cowboys are 2-point underdogs on the road. Let's go out and pay our starting quarterback. Get a lot of talk about us early in the morning, and then let's go out there and dominate.
Every message was already
It's
typed up
great.
Saturday.
Oh,
they just had to press
absolutely.
send Sunday morning.
100%.
You're so right, Darren. That's so true.
But it made for
But it
a
worked.
great day. It worked, and the Cowboys looked great yesterday. I wrote down, I was, writing notes for, I was watching the games and kind of jotting down different notes from different games. Only note I have from the Cowboys game, Cowboys are going to the Super Bowl in all bold, big letters. Super Bowl. I mean, after that performance I saw, defense locked in, offense can only get
You
better.
revised the parade route?
No. We still same parade route, but it's just we have
Original
it out
parade
now,
route.
and we're putting it on a big poster.
One question: do you take opponent into consideration? Because when you have a quarterback throwing 8 yards into the out of bounds, and did you see CD catch a ball from Deshaun Watson? Yeah,
I mean, he can do it all. I mean, you can catch it from Dak, you can catch it from opposing quarterbacks. I mean, what can this guy not do?
CeeDee Lamb had more receptions from Deshaun Watson yesterday than Miles Michaelis threw strikes in St. Louis at Busch Stadium.
Yeah, you had an interesting day yesterday.
He was ineffective, Brian. Cardinals down 3-0 before they recorded the first out, 5 at the end of the first inning. For the first time in 40 years, a Cardinal pitcher allowed the first 5 batters of the game to get a hit. The last pitcher to do that, the voice of the Cardinals, Ricky Horton.
Is that right? Wow.
He told me that post-game.
Did he really? Oh, that's even better.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
He said, I said, Miles Michaelis couldn't miss their bats today, could he? And he started laughing. And he said, the last time somebody allowed 5 hits the first 5 batters, me in 1984 at Dodger Stadium.
Oh, my gosh. That's hilarious. Yeah. So I guess moral of the story, Brett, you got to wait another couple of years to go see
Another 2 years.
2 more to see Seattle, unless they change the schedule.
World Series.
That's right.
World Series.
Next year, 2025 World Series.
Come on.
Oh, please.
All seriousness, Brian. I know why the Cardinals aren't going to the playoffs this year. Why aren't the Mariners? With that pitching,
I mean, the pitching's been unbelievable. It hasn't been the pitching; it's been the bats. They can't hit anything until yesterday when everybody was hitting the ball.
And usually when I go to St. Louis, and I did this year in May, you go up in June, July, and you look up there and you see PA plate appearances. I mean, it really is stunning to go this late in the year. And I looked up there, like for Cal Raleigh yesterday, 507 plate appearances.
How about that? Yeah.
What's the time of year to have that many?
Absolutely, but it's still that's a lot of plate appearances. But no, I mean. Seattle was locked in yesterday. The Cardinals were not, and it showed very early in the game because I was driving, and I think I was heading home, and I was like, okay, good. I can get home. Maybe I missed the top of the first inning, and y'all get settled in. I'll have football on a couple screens. I'll have the Cardinals game and the Mariners game on a third screen before I could even get home. Game was over. I said, I'm not watching that. It's I'm not even going to waste my time watching that.
I didn't get my nachos prepared properly before it was over. And I've never left early, never leaving early. I don't get the mindset of either A, getting there late, or B, getting there and leaving early.
Sure.
I can't comprehend that.
No.
But if I was ever going to leave early, I could have left the first
inning.
inning.
Yesterday was your day, that's for sure.
But my day was made pregame. I don't send out Christmas cards anymore, but if I did, I've got the good Christmas card to send out, don't I, Brian?
You absolutely do.
With the 2X, David Eckstein, 2006 MVP of the World Series, and Dennis Eckersley, Hall of Famer.
Cool picture.
And I told Dennis Eckersley, my favorite baseball stat of all time. Nothing, maybe only Stan Musial's 3,630 hits with 18-15 on the road and 18-15 at home. Only thing that rivals it. In 1990, Dennis Eckersley had more saves than base runners allowed.
It's insane. That is such a good stat.
It's mind-blowing.
I mean, it is. I mean, you could tell me that every day for the rest of my life, and I would still get surprised.
His stuff was so good. I mean, it was good morning, good afternoon, good night. And I know what happened in the '88 World Series to Kirk Gibson, but I also know Dennis Eckersley was so solid and good with the Cardinals, and good with the Cardinals in the early years of Tony La Russa, the Bill DeWitt group owning it, and the turnaround.
Yeah, no, you're right. But that was a cool picture. You sent it to me yesterday during the game, and so I hope you at least had a good time away from the action.
I had a great time.
I
had a great time. Rough. Cardinals have been so good to me in my life. Look, every game can't be David Freese in 2011 World Series. It can't be. You got to have some of those like yesterday. That's part of fandom. Cardinals have been great to me. At what point today, or were we waiting to David Cobb to talk about the Q&A with John Rothstein?
Oh, yeah. That might be a David Cobb. It was weird, Brett.
Sure could be.
It was.
It read horribly.
It read awful. It was one of those where I was begging for audio of it because we always talk about.
And I'll give benefit to I know how acerbic everything read can come off.
Sure,
that
exactly.
in person, please tell me that would have read differently.
Well, and that's why I wish we had gotten either audio of the Q&A or a video Q&A or something, because reading it was not fun at all. It was not an enjoyable experience. So if you haven't seen it, John Rothstein.
What was your top line takeaway from the John Rothstein Q&A?
I thought it was very strange, the continuing of the, I'm judged harsher. And I think at one point he said, I don't have it in front of me.
The petulance.
Yes. I think at one point.
The paranoia that he's been mistreated.
Well, and that's the thing, because I think at one point he was like, in the Q&A, Hardaway responded to something Rothstein asked him and said, if you take any coach's first 6 years and put them up against mine, I've done just as good, if not better, than them, and then started questioning John Rothstein and other media members about why do they view him differently than other coaches. It was just a very strange interview, or Q&A. I guess I wouldn't call it an interview, but it's a very strange Q&A.
And one, and again, lost in the translation of no audio and you don't know the exact meaning and you can lose context. But a pure whopper about all the smoke. He was asked a couple years after that, what about that now? And he said same thing.
Sure.
All the smoke.
Yeah. You're right about that. It was weird, and so I know David has seen the Q&A, and we'll definitely talk more about that with him because we have such a busy show today. So let me set it up before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30, we're going to talk about the Tigers and their win Saturday morning against Troy. Another convincing win by the Tigers as they cover another spread to start the season, so all good with the Tigers. We'll talk about their win at 3:30. 3:45, we'll get to more of the national view of the weekend in college football, some of the bigger games of Saturday. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports will join us to talk some college football with him, but we'll also have to get all of his thoughts on what happened last week with Penny Hardaway, the firing of staff members, the anonymous letter, and now the Q&A with John Rothstein. We'll talk about all of that and more with David Cobb at 4 o'clock. 4:30, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin, look back at the weekend in the SEC. A lot of good games to talk about in the SEC. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Jonah Dillon, the Commercial Appeal Tiger football beat writer, will join us. We'll talk about the game on Saturday, the win over Troy, but we'll also start previewing this weekend's big-time matchup against Florida State. 5:30, we'll get to our Monday Night Football pick and preview, and also the best 4 players all time for the 49ers and the Jets. And this, in the past, we've done 2 lists. This is just one combined list.
Just one.
Yeah.
4 guys. It could be all Niners. It could be all Jets.
Yeah.
I did both guys, and you could actually do all 4 from each one. You could go all 4 Packers as best player, or you could do all Niners.
Yeah.
We have, and we might do that. We're going to get to some Monday nights this year that it's all-time 4 best defensive backs, or all-time 4 best offensive linemen, or all-time 4 best kickers.
Yeah. So it's.
I got a great 4 for you guys.
Okay, I'm excited. So we'll do that at 5:30.
Not what you think.
Okay.
Let me know.
All right. So we'll have to do that at 5:30. We'll get to our pick, our preview, and our best 4 players all time for the 49ers and the Jets. Then at 5:30 or 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Crunch Time. Let me remind you, we're in our Family Leisure studios where family and fun come together. Get over to Family Leisure for the world's biggest spa sale going on right now. Save thousands on in-stock hot tubs ready for delivery. Spa starting at $28.99. Cold plunges starting at $39.99. Swim spas at $17,499. Special financing, it's available, and huge discounts on all in-stock above-ground pools. It's available too, and don't forget about the patio furniture. It's priced to move. So head out to Family Leisure, 2120 Whitten Road, just north of I-40.
He's Brian. I'm Brett. Darian Newsom's our producer. We're with you until 6 o'clock. We take you up to Reb Talk and then Monday Night Football. But we want you to join us either texting or calling at 901-360-8255, the Sissy's Log Cabin text and talk line. All our guests will appear on the Sissy's Log Cabin guest line at 901-360-8255. As always, from our Family Leisure Studios, and always this first hour brought to you by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2024 models and always special leasing options. Drive in luxury and confidence knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Call them at 901-334-9673, but stop by the one and only Lexus dealership in town at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2024 flagship LS500. You'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. The 2025s on the way soon. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day has got to be the weekend in college football. Saturday was really fun from start to finish. You started off with the Tigers and their win over Troy, 38-17, a good win. That's back-to-back nice wins for the Tigers before they get ready for their first road game in Tallahassee against Florida State. But the rest of that 11 a.m. slate was really fun to watch. You had Arkansas and Oklahoma State, where Arkansas gets up real big, and then Oklahoma State starts coming back in the second half. You go to overtime, 2 overtimes, and Oklahoma State ends up winning. Penn State had some troubles early with Bowling Green. Syracuse pulls the upset at home over Georgia Tech when Georgia Tech just entered the top 25. Kansas State and Tulane was a really fun one, a game I thought Tulane was gonna win, but late in the game they just couldn't execute and finish, and Kansas State was able to come back and win that game. Is Texas back? They looked unbelievable in that game against Michigan, a 31-12 win over the Wolverines. So that set up for a really, really fun day. You had Iowa State beat Iowa in the closing seconds. That was a lot of fun.
Cyhawk champions.
How about that? I mean, week 2. I didn't know we played it that early.
Not a dry in the building.
No.
Winners cried,
Exactly.
defeated cried.
Exactly. Everybody is just crying in the stadium.
Everybody cried.
That's right. And then the biggest upset of the weekend, Northern Illinois with the shocker, a 16-14 win over Notre Dame after Notre Dame just got done beating Texas A&M, and a lot of people thought big year for Notre Dame after last week. They fall at home to Northern Illinois. Oh, man. You hate to see it. Tennessee also a big win for them.
I tried to go Price is Right sounder.
It's pretty good.
It failed me. I
didn't think it was bad.
Big swing and miss.
But also really.
There's some Miles Michaelis to sound effects.
We not fans of Miles Michaelis. I can see it today after that outing yesterday. But Tennessee did look good in the game Saturday night over NC State, a commanding 51-10 win for them. So I thought a really fun Saturday of college football.
My top story started with long-awaited FSU week down in Tallahassee, Memphis, exactly where and how I thought they'd be after 2 games. One just mail it in easy against UNA, and one competitive but handled it easily. You know you're good, really, against anybody when you can just toy with them. And Memphis toyed with Troy most of the day Saturday. You never felt like Troy was going to do anything to even make it any closer than it was. FSU, not anything like I thought they would be. Maybe thought 2 scares, but not 2 losses. I thought maybe go to Dublin and get scared a little bit, BC on Labor Day night, but win both of them. Both Georgia Tech and BC were simply better in both of those games. The finger pointing and the questions, they've been everywhere since those losses for Mike Norvell, now an open date. FSU now, about a 7-point favorite? Mm-hmm. In a game that looks so much different now than it did 5 weeks ago.
No, you are absolutely right about that.
Not top story of the day.
Well, my not top story of the day has got to be week 1 in the NFL. It's almost wrapped up completely. It'll wrap up tonight when the Jets and 49ers face off for Monday Night Football, which should be a really, really fun game. 49ers coming off another great season last year. The Jets get Aaron Rodgers back. It was also announced earlier today Aaron Rodgers is getting a documentary series on Netflix, so that's always fun. But we'll see what Aaron Rodgers looks like for the Jets. After last year, we really didn't get to see any of him, but yesterday was really cool to see the NFL just being back. It's always a fun day when the NFL is back, and we had some, I thought, really good games. We had some teams that very clearly are not back, like the Carolina Panthers. They still look like they are a bad team. The New York Giants, and I say this with a great big smile on my face, they are also not very good this year.
What about the unis with the Giants? Are we going to address that?
They were
the
disgusting.
National outrage?
They were awful. They were hideous. Those are the words that I used while watching them. But some good performances. The Cowboys, I'm not just saying that because I'm a Cowboys fan. I thought they were really good in their win. And then that game last night, Sunday Night Football, really lived up to what anybody could have wanted for the first Sunday Night Football game. Rams and Lions goes to overtime, and after really back and forth, especially the second half, the Lions made it look so easy in overtime, just walking right down the field.
That's with Sean McVay all offseason, the game plan for that game. And he still couldn't beat them.
Yeah, I was impressed with the Lions.
My not top story, who really thought Michigan could lose Jim Harbaugh, Blake Corum, and J.J. McCarthy and be fine? Nobody should have thought that. Sharon Moore versus Sark, come on now. Who really believed that? Texas went to Tuscaloosa last year, so going to play Sharon Moore didn't faze them at all. Michigan, 3 of 12 on fourth downs, and it was easy all day for Texas. I said 31-10 on Thursday with Bill Bender. On Friday when we made our picks, hey, spank me, whoop me. I missed by 2 points, 31-12.
Well, it's good picking by you. I mean, I thought that they would cover. I did not think it would be that easy. It was really wild to see what Texas did to Michigan. Absolutely. But that'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and grab our first break, and when we come back, we'll talk more about the Tigers and their win Saturday morning over Troy. We'll do that next on Sportstime.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
I think a lot about golf, and when I think golf, I think Miramichi. Did you know Miramichi Golf Course offers membership? It's a great way to play more golf for less out of pocket. Their memberships run for $300 a month plus tax, and that includes unlimited rounds and range balls, no extra card fees, priority tee time booking, and discounts in the pro shop. Oh, by the way, there's no initiation fee. Miramichi green fees, they'll allow you to choose the right rate at the right time on the right day for your needs. If morning tee times are more important, you can book up to 14 days ahead of time to reserve your spot. If rate is more important to you, there are discounted evening rates available that you can choose from. You'll find the lowest rates on Tuesday through Thursday afternoons. Sometimes you just need to escape the hustle and bustle of life. Miramichi Golf Course provides just the right place to solve that need. The name Miramichi means place of happy retreat. When you need a quiet, peaceful round of golf, please make your way to Miramichi.
Looking for an engagement ring that'll really knock her socks off? You need to be at Genesis Diamonds. It's such a privilege at Genesis Diamonds for us to work with the world's finest designers, to be able to offer brands like Takori and Versace, and we're excited to be able to give you some this time. Genesis Vice President David Cooper, the craftsmanship, the detail, the quality, the individuality is bar anything else. Genesis has been selected as an exclusive provider for every top designer from rings to choose from. And if that's not enough, they can create something that's truly custom craft you literally anything you can imagine. We have the capabilities to realize any dream. Things that other stores may call new. We've been doing it for 5 years already. So don't settle for the remake, style design. You deserve. I'm
This is Kevin Harlan from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner and I will wrap up NFL Week 1 action with the Jets at the 49ers. New York awaits the return of Aaron Rodgers at quarterback, while the 49ers hope to kick off a season headed back to the Super Bowl. Join us on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
Vanguard is 100% client-owned, serving over 50 million investors every day. Whether you're planning for retirement, putting your kids through college, or saving up for your next adventure, Vanguard can help you set personalized investment goals. All investing is subject to risk. Vanguard is owned by its funds, which are owned by Vanguard's fund shareholder clients. Copyright 2024, The Vanguard Group, Inc. All rights reserved. Vanguard Marketing Corporation Distributor.
This is the story of the one. As a facility technician installing a new welding station, he knows getting the ventilation right is critical for safety. That's why when questions arise, there's Granger. Granger offers detailed technical product information online at his fingertips, so it's easy to find what he needs. Because when it comes to safety, having answers means he and his people can breathe a little easier. Call clickgranger.com or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
Locally owned and operated for over 40 years, Automatic Gates Construction tailors custom gate solutions for all your residential, commercial, and industrial needs, including repairs, maintenance, and installation. Automatic Gates Construction specializes in designing and installing automatic gates and fencing that seamlessly blends security, functionality, and aesthetic appeal. Elevate the safety and efficiency of your property with a premium gate solution. Automatic Gates Construction at myautomaticgates.com.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Red Staff Sports Ruby and Brian Gates.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We got to talk about the Tigers and their win Saturday morning over Troy. They made it look easy. They cover another spread. Pretty much everything you wanted them to do in their win, a 38-17 win over Troy, as they now turn their attention to Florida State. I know both head coaches talked today, both Ryan Silverfield and Mike Norvell. Ryan Silverfield earlier said that this game was not going to be a battle of Silverfield versus Norvell. Norvell talked about how much the University of Memphis means to him and his time being there. So, it's going to be a big-time game for a lot of different reasons, but definitely Memphis did what they needed to do this past weekend over Troy to get to Florida State and be 2-0 going into that game.
Brian, they did, and I like what Coach Silverfield said today, and I don't mind it being Seth Hennigan versus DJU. No, It's not going to be Ryan versus Mike. It's not going to be Coach Norvell versus Coach Silverfield. I like Mario Anderson against their rapidly depleted running back grouping for FSU. I like the Tiger O-line and D-line better. I think I would take the FSU secondary, over the Memphis secondary, but I'm not so sure about that. And we talked, I talked earlier about I thought Saturday went exactly, and the first two games have gone exactly like I thought it would. I missed a little on the Memphis game. I said 34-17, just under the point spread. I missed it. It was 38-17. Okay, 4 points. I'm sorry. I missed badly. All three of you guys, Brian, you and Connor and Darian, all got there just over the 18.5 as the Tigers won by 21. I missed, but it was a game exactly like I thought, close enough like I thought it would go.
Absolutely. And so, you look at it, and I thought Memphis did a lot of things well. There were a couple of things that happened that you're like, man, I'd like to see that get cleaned up, just a little bit. But, all in all, I think, Seth Hennigan, I thought.
Ran the ball?
Sure, you ran the ball really well. I thought Mario Anderson was great, 125 yards, 2 touchdowns. I like this role. They got Brandon Thomas in where, kind of the goal line back. He had 2 carries and 2 touchdowns on those 2 carries right at the goal line. And then, I think even with Seth Hennigan, kind of started the game a little slow, was kind of missing throws early, but was able to settle in and, finish the game 20 for 30, 161 yards, 1 touchdown, no interceptions. That's what I wanted to see from this offense in that game. And the defense, I thought, looked good as well. Elijah Herring, the guy you got from Tennessee in the transfer portal, he had a really good game. Chandler Martin has been so good. You talked about that secondary. Kobe Minor, who came in from Indiana, has played really well, has been a bright spot through these first two games. So I think you like a lot of what you've seen from this Tiger team through the first 2 weeks.
The Tigers 20 of 30 passing and running the ball. They had 29 rushing attempts for 211 yards. Only 59 plays?
Yeah, how about that?
It's not a lot of plays.
Not a lot of plays.
And 0 turnovers.
That's right, and that's the big thing is the 0 turnovers. They did a really good job protecting the ball, and I know a lot of people were talking about that after the first game because last year, first game against Bethune-Cookman, Tigers had, I think, 3 turnovers. I think Seth threw 2 interceptions, and they had at least 1 fumble. They might have had 2 fumbles in that game. And so turnovers was kind of a big issue that a lot of people were talking about last year after the first game. And so the fact that these first 2 games, you've done a really nice job of protecting the ball, I think that's huge going into this game against Florida State.
4 of 8 on third down, and no turnovers. Every coach loves that. Punting, Tigers only had to punt 3 times, so 7 penalties. That's not outrageous, especially this early in the year. I think you can live with that only for 71 yards. It wasn't any big personal fouls, big 15-yarders. So that's good. And now on to FSU. For Troy running the ball, they did go over 100 yards, but it wasn't a lot there for them, only averaging 3 yards a rush.
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of look, if you watch the game or you look at the box score, running was not because I think you can look at it and see, oh man, 101 yards rushing, 2 rushing touchdowns, and that just was not the case watching the game, or even if you just look deeper. I mean, their leading rusher had 33 yards, and so they did a really nice job of keeping everybody under wraps, but it just became a thing where passing the ball wasn't really working late in the game, and it's just kind of try to run the ball, and that's I think why you saw so many over 100 yards rushing for Troy.
Did you have fun? Vibe? How was it?
Yeah, it was cool. I enjoyed it. It was a good game. Obviously with the construction was obviously noticeable, but I didn't think it was a big issue, and it seemed like everyone that was there had a really good time. It didn't feel like anybody was really bothered at all by all the construction.
And feels like the Tigers' season is building to something special, regardless of what happens this week. I'm I'm not all week. I think the Tigers will win, but I am not putting, win or bust, or if they don't win, it radically changes the complexion of the season. I'm not doing that to them, but I think it's there to be won.
Certainly, and you talk about the excitement. I've heard some.
And if they don't, they don't.
Exactly. But I think, you talk about the excitement.
It's FSU, don't gamble.
Right. And you talk about that excitement for the season. I just think that's going to grow as the year goes on. And I think, a lot of people think this team's going to be very successful. And so I think as the year continues to go on and this team shows the type of talent they have and what they can do and how special this year can be, you're going to see bigger crowds at these games and more people, involved in trying to go to games and trying to support this team. And so, the first game against an FCS opponent, second game against a Troy team that didn't look very good in their first game. I heard some people complaining about the attendance, but I think that's only going to improve as the year goes on.
Brian, I made a vow. Not one word from me about Tiger attendance until the ribbon's cut and the new stadium's open.
Yeah.
That's the next time any attendance takes will be from me, because this is part of it. It's like at Vanderbilt. It's like what Texas A&M went through. Many others have had these big transformations, big construction projects. No big takeaways, none, not big or small, from me until this is a completed stadium, and I don't think that will probably be until maybe October of 26.
Yeah.
I mean, we know this year, we know next year, and it might take a little lag time into the opening of 26. So, for me, 2027 is going to be the next big attendance takeaway.
I think that's
or small.
And that's definitely, I think, the way to go about it. But I thought a really, really good game for the Tigers, and now I think you got to lock in, because I think I've heard a lot of people talking about these Florida State teams 0-2. They haven't looked good, but at the end of the day, this is a team that has coming off an off week. They've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game, and so if you're the Tigers, and I know they will be, this is very different from the team and what people are talking about away from the team. But you've got to lock in this week, because no matter if they're the worst Florida State team that Florida State has ever had, going into that environment is going to be intimidating, and it's going to be a good atmosphere down there. So you got to be ready to go in there and for an all-out war against Florida State.
Last chance for Florida State to change their season.
Oh, yeah.
And it really tips into the abyss after this weekend if they start 0-3. No college football hot takery had that close to that
Not at all.
during the offseason. And remember this about the Florida State personnel when the Tigers are playing Saturday. They're too deep, and then some. I would say their first 50 men on their roster, everybody that plays big-time college football wanted those guys. Everybody.
Yeah.
You can go through the list of every league, every SEC, every Big Ten, every ACC, every Big 12. Everybody coveted those players.
No, you're definitely right. And so, and you brought up a really good point of this is a team that's 0-2. If they lose against the Tigers, they're going to be 0-3. And so there's going to be that desperation from Florida State to, we got to do something. We've got to salvage this season. We've got to find a way to win. And, like you just mentioned, they have talented players. These are guys that were, whether it was out of high school, heavily recruited, or into the transfer portal, heavily recruited out of the transfer portal at whatever, school they were at before that. So I think we're in store for a great game Saturday, and obviously I hope the Tigers win, but it's not going to be easy for them, I don't think.
It sure isn't. Point spread now up to 7, over and under 52.5. Memphis money line plus 210. That's very big value for sure there.
Sure.
It's not the Memphis Tigers' job for FSU before they play them to win or lose, or after they play them. If this is the abyss, if they start 0-3 and it devolves into 5-7, 6-6, and it could for Florida State. That's not on Memphis.
No, not at all.
That's not their fault.
No.
They contributed to it.
Exactly.
They helped start the abyss. Next week for FSU, they host Cal.
How about that? Cal's first.
Nothing says ACC like
that's right.
Like Cal going to Tallahassee, does
Cal's
it?
first coast-to-coast trip as ACC members.
And then the following week, FSU goes to SMU.
That's right.
Then they host Clemson. I mean, 0-3 could be 0-6.
Yeah, I mean.
But that's not Memphis's doing.
No, it's
I mean, that you shouldn't concern yourself with it. I like Memphis to win this game when everybody thought FSU was going to the college football playoff.
No, you absolutely did. I mean, this has been privately between me and you. You've been saying this early summer, and
public since middle August.
Sure. And so, I know for you,
About
this
a
is
month
something
now.
you've been thinking for a really long time. You really like, the spot Memphis is in, whether it was an 0-2 Florida State team or a 2-0 top 5 Florida State team. You like the Tigers in this, and you're absolutely right. Doesn't matter what the record is for Florida State. All that matters is what Memphis does to them this week. This is the only week that Florida State matters for Memphis.
Mighty Cal Bears made the cross-country trip down to the Plains.
Sure did.
And beat Hugh Freeze. Maybe, just maybe, Hugh Freeze needs to concern himself more with playing Cal and stopping a 4th and 31 and beating New Mexico State at home instead of worrying about maybe, probably, coulda, shoulda, whatever he thinks his record should be against Nick Saban.
No, you are absolutely right. It was an ugly game for Auburn on Saturday against Cal, and and I don't know if you saw Brian Harson's tweet earlier this morning, throwing shots at Auburn in their football program. So that was.
Wouldn't that qualify as shade?
You're absolutely right, Brett. That he was throwing shade.
Isn't that the ultimate shade being tossed?
It was incredible. Who knew we were going to
Brian
get Brian
Harsin
Harsin drama today?
Just kick back with his Auburn check
and his coffee,
throwing it out there, isn't he?
Yeah, and just throwing some shade. Had some quote about winning, and just good morning to everybody.
If you were as bad as Brian Harsin, shouldn't you just take your check and
I think so.
leave the shade alone?
I think you take your check and you go to whatever lake he was sitting on this morning, and you just you enjoy the day. You don't go into social media. You just relax. Because you weren't doing much better as a coach. You weren't doing better at all as a coach. Actually, you were doing worse. So but that was fun today. But yes, Auburn, and I'll mention it again when we get to our look back at the weekend in the SEC. But last week I said I want to buy into this Auburn offense after week 1. I just can't yet. And then I was very glad after
Peyton
Saturday.
Thorne's still running it.
You're exactly right. But everyone wants to tell me these weapons are so good, they're going to make Peyton Thorne look good. And that certainly was not the case on Saturday against Cal.
And I will defend Hugh Freeze here. If he can't get any more out of Peyton Thorne than this, it's not there to be gotten out of.
No. Yeah, that's more on Peyton Thorne.
Because he's pretty good with quarterbacks.
He's very good with quarterbacks. That's a good point by you. But we'll get back into this game and a lot more of the SEC at 4:30 when we get to our Sissy's Log Cabin look back at the weekend in the SEC. But we need to get to a break. And when we come back, we'll talk about the national scene of college football. Saturday was a busy day. We had the upset. Notre Dame goes down to Northern Illinois. We'll talk about the biggest games of the weekend next on Sports Time.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Sometimes I wish I had a gun.
Well, I'm armed, but before I bought one, I still went to Top Gun Academy to learn to protect myself without a gun.
How is that possible?
Top Gun's personal protection training. It's perfect if you want to protect yourself without firearms.
I don't know.
And it's perfect if you feel the need to carry a gun for self-defense, because the last thing you really want to do is shoot.
That is scary.
Not at Top Gun. It's very comfortable, and you learn to load, handle, and shoot a handgun safely. Protect yourself. Go to Top Gun Academy. They're at 2770 Witten Road.
Summer's heating up, and so are the savings at Choate's. We've got 3 incredible offers to make your season spectacular. First up, our Grill and Chill with Choate's Summer Special. Upgrade your HVAC system and choose between a free Yeti cooler or a Green Egg grill on select systems. Then power through any outage with Choate's generators. Be one of the first 50 customers to buy a generator and score a massive 75-inch TV or an iPad. Also, don't forget about our tankless water heater offer. Purchase a tankless water heater from Choate's and receive a premium toilet free. Don't wait. These offers are too good to last. Turn to the experts with Choate's and call 347-8086 or visit us online today for your free estimate. Now introducing Choate's air conditioning, heating, plumbing, and generators. Choate's, let our family serve your family.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles, ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at TriumphAutoSales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
Admit it. When you start thinking about tastes of Memphis, you think treats, sweets. You think Dinstall's. For 122 years now. What is that, 5 generations? When people wanted something to bring to a party that will just make everybody happy, they bring out Dinstall's. 122 years of Cashew Crunch, of Heavenly Hash, of Turtlettes, of their award-winning fudge. That's worldwide. It's known that well. Then there's the milk chocolate. It all starts there. There's the double-dip peanuts. And then every fall, those famous chocolate-covered strawberries with that fondant. And they won't tell you what's in the fondant, but it makes it oh so special. And easy to get to. 5 locations. There's where they make the candies in Pleasant View. There's Germantown. There's Collierville. There's even one downtown. And in my neck of the woods in Laurelwood. You know what? 122 years made in Memphis and enjoyed by the whole world. Dinstall's.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stacks Norsworthy and Brian Gates.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios. We talked about the Tigers. Now more of a national look at Saturday's action in the world of college football. I think the biggest story of the day was Northern Illinois' win over big bad Notre Dame. Notre Dame feeling really good about themselves after the win against Texas A&M, maybe overlooking Northern Illinois, and a fun game, 16-14 final score. Northern Illinois put up 10 points in the first quarter. That was the only touchdown they scored was in the first quarter. And really, Notre Dame could not get much anything going throughout that entire game and ultimately loses at home.
Way to go, Huskies. And they were really in control most of the game. Control the clock, had almost 35 minutes of possession time to only 25 for Notre Dame, around that 34, 38 to 25, 22, if you want to be just exact.
Sure.
Only 3 penalties. Outrushed or gained 190 yards on Notre Dame. I want to give all credit to Northern Illinois. I really do.
Sure.
But this is when I digress. You know who should really be ashamed of Notre Dame's performance Saturday other than Notre Dame?
Texas A&M.
The Texas Aggies.
Yep.
Tried to play that game at home and put up no more of a fight. It lost by 10. It was really a one-possession game, but didn't compete in the lines of scrimmage. And Northern Illinois goes to South Bend and smokes them like that.
Yeah, how about that? I mean,
running the ball.
It was a great great performance. I mean, it was a great game for Northern Illinois. On the other side, Notre Dame, I mean, what are we doing? We have all of this, positive momentum after beating Texas A&M.
Vibes everywhere.
Oh, the vibes are great.
Vibes are everything. Vibes and good feelings.
Yes, vibes are. Vibes
it's the age of vibes, isn't it?
It absolutely
Not the age
is.
of Aquarius.
So here's some quick numbers
vibes
on that game. Notre Dame was 28-point favorites, and Northern Illinois was plus 2,200 on the money line. 2,200 on the money line.
How about that?
Man,
I hope
just
there's
what a little old $10 bill would have got.
$10 bill.
You know what I'm saying? I really hope there's a Northern Illinois fan out there, or just like a Notre Dame hater
someone
out there
took it.
that is like,
someone was all in over, and they're just happy as all get out.
I love that. That's
you know
beautiful.
they are. And with like a lot of these teams earlier in the year, it started in Dublin with FSU. It continued last weekend with A&M, a little bit with LSU losing to USC.
Sure.
One loss really makes you look at teams so differently.
Definitely.
Now it feels like Notre Dame could get beat 2 or 3 or 4 more times, doesn't it?
Yeah, no, it definitely
From
does.
cakewalk last week after defeating A&M at College Station,
Sure.
and again, the myth of Kyle Field. I mean,
Yeah.
there's 2 things the new video game got really wrong. Kyle Field being a tough place to play, and their assessment of Colorado.
Oh man, yeah,
Video
Colorado.
world.
What a game that was Saturday night. Nebraska,
Pounding.
whew, they look good. They're a fun team to watch. Dylan Raiola
And
he's
Big,
got
Big
some
Red
juice.
rocked.
Oh, it was crazy.
In that stadium, it sounded like and looked like the heyday. But really and truly, even in their now long out years, those fans still supported
Oh,
them.
yeah.
Home
Big
and
time.
road. It Saturday night was the old level, but even their bad times level, most of the rest of us would take those vibes.
Oh, 100%. Vibes are always good in Lincoln, Nebraska for the Cornhuskers, and they were at an all-time high Saturday. I mean, you got Deion Sanders and his boys coming in, and I mean, place was rocking.
Now, I hated to see Shiloh Sanders hurt.
Sure, yes, that was bad. I saw
He's out for the year.
a photo of Deion with him at the hospital over, I guess it was yesterday when that picture came out.
Broken fall.
Yeah, but for Nebraska to play like they did, just absolute domination. Dylan Raiola is legit. He is so much fun to watch. He is primetime television every time he steps on the field.
Don't you think Matt Rule probably feels like build with him into next year and really go for it to a deep college football playoff run in his junior year?
For sure.
With more NIL, more recruiting,
100%,
more stuff.
100%.
By any chance, did you catch the end of Doug Gottlieb on Fox Sports Radio right before we came on today?
I did
you hear any of that?
I did not.
He was saying he thinks by the end of the year, Colorado shuts down Shador to save him from injury, not exposed, maybe a bad habit, fundamental habit on the field, and to protect his draft stock.
I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest. I mean, if this year, I know a lot of people have been saying, 6-6, maybe, they do something here. If we're looking late in the season and there's a couple games left and they only have 3 wins, I would not be surprised at all if Deion says he's not playing anymore. He's going to get ready for the draft.
Do you shut down Travis Hunter as well?
Yeah.
Because I think that's the number one pick. Not even Carson Beck. I think Travis is number one.
They're a pair. If you do
and
something like that to one, you do it to both.
Yeah.
All right, what would others think? Well, okay, well those they're all opting out. Maybe I need to protect myself too. Hunter had a good game Saturday.
He did.
His box score, his play was
Hunter's
good.
legit, bro. Hunter is legit.
I don't really think
he sure is.
I don't think
so. Is Shador?
Sure.
Yes.
I don't think Deion really cares what the rest from everything I know about or everything I've seen from Deion.
Okay,
as Coach
and that's fine.
I don't think he cares about what the
That's
other
fine
players
if Deion doesn't. That's fine if Coach Prime doesn't care. But his boss, Rick George, should care.
I agree. I'm not saying it's right, Brett. Like I'm not saying he's making the right decision by not caring what the other players think. I'm just saying from what I've seen of Deion Sanders at Colorado, I think that something like that's going to happen, and he doesn't care what other people think. And his answer to those other players, if they say, "Well, Coach, if they're not playing, I don't think I should play either," or whatever it might be, or are they? You talk about teamwork, and they should be with us if they're part of this team. He's gonna say, "Don't let the door hit you." That's what he said the whole time he's been in Colorado is, I can go out and get 10 guys better than you. And so
find me the next Colorado win. This week, state rival against Colorado State in Fort Collins.
Yeah.
Then home against Baylor. You do? Okay, that was quick.
But it's on the road.
They have some. Don't forget they have some revenge factor. That's my mama take my shades off and my hats off, coach. So.
Yeah.
At Central Florida, home against Kansas State, at Arizona, home against Cincinnati, at Texas Tech. Do you know Baylor and Utah, both in the Big 12, they played Saturday, and it was not a conference game?
How about that, Brett? Yeah.
That's some zany goings-ons.
Crazy. You look up, you see the Big 12 logo on both the jerseys, and not a conference game. Both still
it's my idea for scheduling in the SEC. Play one that's not a conference game.
Exactly.
To you both quickly before we go to break.
Okay.
If Shador is not there, does Deion coach Colorado without his son? Is this his last year?
The rest of this year or next year?
Next year. If Shador is gone, does Deion stay at Colorado without his son?
I think he wants to go watch him play in the pros, and I don't blame him. I defend him on that.
I would too.
I tried, I did it,
Sure.
but I want to go watch my son play in the National Football League. I can't knock a man for that.
No, not at all. And who knows how the season goes? But if it doesn't go great, then it's very easy. You know what? Tried it at Colorado. It's just not working out how I thought it would. I'm gonna step away.
Now, if he quits in the middle of this year, he lets a mass opt out. That's not on him either. It's on his boss, Rick George.
Oh, no, I think you're right about that as well. But we got to get to a break and wrap up this first hour. And when we come back, we're talking a whole lot of college football and a whole lot of college basketball with our friend David Cobb from CBS Sports.
Genesis Vice President David Cooper from Fresno
own a business, you know Luttrell Belting keeps you moving. Luttrell has cost-effective belts, conveyor components, and 24/7 on-site service to keep you operating smoothly. Text or just a phone call away at 800-441-8946 or online at LuttrellBelting.com. Luttrell's Memphis plant stocks belting in nearly every size and finish, and if they don't have it, they'll make it. From ordering to selection, fabrication, and installation, your Luttrell sales rep is there for you. Luttrell Belting keeps you moving.
Simple, smooth, and every sip is easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does your favorite mixers. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent out to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff, just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas. 40% alcohol by volume, mainly 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Join us celebrating 26 years of Napa Cafe. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I'm inviting you over for dinner. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner of scrumptious combinations, fresh salads, homemade soups, or maybe start with an appetizer, like our baked Dungeness crab dip with manchego cheese, lemon, garlic, and French baguette toast. Drift into one of our fresh seafood dishes, like the caramelized sea scallops with curry beurre blanc, black forbidden rice, and Thai mango salad. Or our ancho honey glazed salmon with creamy black bean puree, avocado pico de gallo, and jalapeno crema. Maybe you're looking for something cozy and comforting, like our Duroc pork chop with apple brandy demi-glaze and blue cheese bacon mashed potatoes. We have something for everyone. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. I'd sure love to see you.
Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis with Dave Woloshin, weekday mornings from 10 to 11. Joining Brian and Brett now on Sports Time is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Brian Brett with you, and joining us now to talk some college football and college basketball. David Cobb joins us now from CBS Sports. And David, I hear you have big plans after you join us. Going to go see the Bombers this evening.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm talking to you guys just to kill off the last 30 minutes before the gates open at Yankee Stadium. First time ever going to a Yankees game. Not a Yankees fan, but we are making a little trip up to NYC, and so I was able to convince Sarah that we should go to a Yankees game. Now, of course. I'm going to a Broadway play on a couple of days.
You should,
and that's the trade-off, right? But hopefully both those things will be quite enjoyable. But it's a perfect night for baseball, so I'm really excited.
That'll be fun.
Are you going to go early enough to go to Monument Park in center field?
Yes. So it's kind of wild that we're up here the week of 9/11. So that is especially significant because there is a 9/11 memorial out there. So this one's cool. Like this one is up there. I mean, outside of Fenway,
sure is.
I've been to Wrigley a couple of years ago, and I loved it. I thought that was super cool. Now, of course, this is new Yankee Stadium. This is an old Yankee Stadium with all the history. This isn't where Babe Ruth played, right? But still, it's the Yankees. It's special, man. I'm excited for it.
Are you going to participate in Yankees roll call?
I don't know about that, but man, I am participating in the subway, like clanging by, like right over my head right now. So that is a very authentic New York experience. If you can hear it.
David, I hadn't seen new Yankee Stadium. I didn't see old Yankee Stadium, the house that Ruth built, but I loved in the PBS series on baseball by Ken Burns with Bob Costas telling the story about in old before refurbished in the 70s Yankee Stadium. The monuments were in center field and were in play. I mean, you could be bounding around them trying to catch up, to a loose ball. And Bob Costas saying that when his dad took him as a kid, a little bitty guy, 4, 5, 6 years old, he thought people were buried out there. He thought they were tombstones.
That's fantastic. Yeah, what makes baseball special too is that every park is unique. Every park has its quirks. Maybe even some parks have people buried in center field. Yeah, there you go. And I love hearing stories like that. That Burns documentary on baseball is so good. There's another Burns documentary on New York in general that I've watched a few times now. And both of those documentaries always get me excited to go to New York. Like I'm as southern as they come. I've lived in all parts of the state of Tennessee, but I do get really excited to come up here because there's just so much history and unique sort of cultural stuff, even in sports, right? Like when I was in Madison Square Garden covering the Grizzlies for the Commercial Appeal. Man, that is such a cool, unique, historic venue, and so I'm excited to cross another one off the bucket list tonight. But
that's a big.
Yeah, I'm sure we got plenty of college
David.
football to get into too. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, we can get to that, but I think what you're doing is more fun. We can talk about that some more. David, I hope Wednesday morning you can go to Ground Zero and see that and be a part of that. It is extraordinarily moving and touching, and I can't imagine being there on the actual day of.
Right, total coincidence too. We didn't say, hey, let's come up to New York. The week of 9/11. It was it just kind of so happened to work out that way. But that's such a formational moment in my childhood. You think about that happening. I was 9 years old at the time, and it's one of those you remember where you were sort of moments that I think for the greatest generation it was Pearl Harbor probably, and then. For some folks, it was the JFK assassination. For me,
and Dr. King here in Memphis.
Absolutely. And for me though, it's 9/11. That's the preeminent where were you moment in my life to this point.
Yeah.
And David, that day, boy, you talking about someone that missed it badly. The first plane flies in, and I'm at my mother's house, and she's having coffee, and she had a good antenna. She said, this is big. I said, no, it's pilot error. No way. About that time, the second one, and we knew our world was changing. My mother, she had it pegged. I didn't. I missed badly. Were you at school that day, David?
No, I was actually on a beach trip with my family. Wow. And so I was, my sister and I and one of our cousins, we were playing a video game system, some sort of like real old Nintendo, whatever was around at that time. And we switched the input to put in a different game. And when we switched the input, that NBC or whatever came on, and we ran downstairs, told our parents, hey, the World Trade Centers are on fire, because we didn't really know what had happened. We didn't know that they'd been hit by planes. We just saw the breaking news coverage of flames or smoke coming out of the towers, and obviously from there it all came into focus. But that was. Yeah, what a day! What a wild sort of
incredible
memory
day.
To reflect on. Wow. Yeah.
Incredible day. Later that day, I was up in eastern Arkansas near the interstate, and my brother and I we could hear them coming from the west. And I don't know my airplanes, F-somethings, fighter planes, but you could hear the roar coming from the west, coming like from Little Rock. And I mean, treetop high, and blew over us, headed toward the, like toward Memphis to the east. And we both looked at each other and said, "Man, it's on."
Right, absolutely. I remember, like at 9 years old, thinking, "Man, I want to enlist. I'm ready to go. Like, sign me up." Like I was ready to go, take out the bad guys. And the other thing that I think about post 9/11 in the immediate aftermath is. And look, like sports can't fix all of society's problems. It is just a game in some sense, but I remember sports going a long way toward providing some of those healing moments where we could get back together.
Does. It always has.
Yeah. Post-COVID as well, man. I think post-COVID, I think about Virginia Tech and the Enter Sandman moment. At Lane Stadium there in college football, and then I think was it Brett? You would remember it was I think Mississippi State versus South Carolina. Maybe
I was there.
Oh wow!
On a Thursday night. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, first game back for college football post 9/11, and I can only imagine. But there's a cool moment on the SEC Network documentary series, looking back over the history of SEC football, where some of the players from that game tell the story from their perspective of what that meant, and it's one of those things
that weekend.
Makes you realize. Yeah, it's why sports are so important. It's why it's where they play an unequivocally, undoubtedly positive role in our society.
And David, it's important because it's the magic elixir. And it's why Bryant and I've always really tried to, keep it on the sports constantly, because we got real problems out there in the real world. This is your escape. This is your time to get away and not have to worry about all those things. That weekend, I was in Starkville for South Carolina and Mississippi State. Great golf trip that weekend too, David. And then on Saturday, we went to Tuscaloosa, to Arkansas and Alabama. And that day at Bryant-Denny Stadium, the entire stadium, then it only seated about 85,000, but the entire stadium said the Pledge of Allegiance, and it felt so good.
Wow.
Man, that is cool. That is special. That makes me think about, there used to be a syndicated show on this station called Celebrating Life Through Sports. I don't know if you remember that one, but it was a guy by the name of David Stein. And
he was so good.
He was, man, and that show totally changed my perspective on why sports matter and what's significant about sports. And it's those moments. It's that Pledge of Allegiance moment as a group of 60,000 after a national tragedy, and it's getting back together post-COVID, post 9/11, and having those collective experiences. And for me, one of those moments is being there as a fan in 2011 when the Grizzlies took down the Spurs in the playoffs, and just feeling a sense of unity with my city that I had never felt before.
Did.
And I know the Grizzlies.
David Cobb, that's a good recall of David Stein. It was overnights that he would do his show, and his big thing, he was the first person I heard use this phrase of really try to pay it forward, really try to be kind to somebody that you don't have to be kind to, that may be having that tough day.
Absolutely. And that totally changed my perspective on why sports are important. And I've had my moments as a player, as a fan, where I've gotten way too emotionally invested. I say things under my breath during a round of golf that I wouldn't want anyone else to hear, right? But don't we all?
Yeah.
But it's so much more than the wins and the losses and the birdies and the pars and the bogeys and the quadruple bogeys. But that show was so important to me, like figuring that out and like actually hearing people talk about things like that was very influential, I think, in like helping me have a healthy relationship with sports instead of one where I just am always mad about the latest shortcoming of my favorite team.
Yeah. Well, we're talking to David Cobb. He joins us live from New York, but joins us always from CBS Sports, talk college football and college basketball. I know we want to talk some college football probably at the end of this segment. We definitely want to get your thoughts on everything that happened last week with Penny Hardaway and the Memphis basketball program. But let's start with college football. What was your kind of biggest takeaway from week 2 in college football?
Michigan needs a quarterback badly. What I don't know what the core system is like there, or if the enrollment date has already passed. But boy, I would be searching high and low for any sort of an answer at that position if I were Sharon Moore. And I think it's gross negligence, not only on his part, but probably more so on Jim Harbaugh's part, that they didn't have a better succession plan for J.J. McCarthy at quarterback, because that was atrocious against Texas. And give a lot of credit to Texas, because they were almost unstoppable on third down, and that, I think, really made the difference in the game. But, boy, Michigan was so poorly equipped to try to mount the comeback, because when you are built around your defense and around your running game, and then you fall down by 3 touchdowns in the first half, it's really tough to come back when you have a former walk-on playing quarterback. And everybody knows what's going to happen when they put Alex Orji in at quarterback. They're going to run the football. So Michigan is very predictable. And they've got a lot to get right if they are even going to sniff the at-large conversation for the college football playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That was my biggest takeaway. I mean, that game, I was live blogging it. It was the marquee matchup. I mean, there was so much else on Saturday, but the status of the Michigan program has got to be, my biggest takeaway from week 2.
Yeah, I mean, Brett and I were talking about it earlier, and I thought Texas was going to win the game. I thought that they would cover the spread, but I did not see it going the way it did. Some of the other things from Saturday in college football, another big game, Colorado and Nebraska Saturday night, Dylan Raiola is for real. I mean, the true freshman has looked really, really good in his first 2 games. And for Nebraska to do what they did against Colorado, I think that spread was about 6.5. For them to go out and dominate the way they did, especially early, I was really impressed. What have you thought about this Nebraska team through 2 weeks of the season?
I'm really glad I stayed off of the under on their win total.
Yeah.
Because going into the year, Vegas had it at about 7.5, which seems really high for a program that hasn't even been to a bowl game since 2016. But you look at the schedule, that Colorado game was one of the big swing games. Now they've won that. They've won it pretty convincingly. And you're looking at the rest of their slate, and you're thinking, okay, this might finally be the Nebraska team that makes progress and breaks the curse. And, I'll point out as well that Colorado did make North Dakota State's quarterback look really good. So, so Dylan Raiola, as great as he was against the Buffaloes, still need to see a little more before I'm talking about Nebraska as a playoff team. But everybody's been expecting that year 2 jump under Matt Rule, and what we saw on Saturday was a really, really tight game plan that was well executed, and they just did what they had to do. They took away the Nebraska or the Colorado sort of downfield pass game, which is really all they have. The only real weapon that Colorado has is to get the ball into the hands of those playmakers in space. And Nebraska was able to drop enough guys into coverage and, bait Shedeur Sanders into enough bad throws that they really didn't get burned.
Yeah.
David, the Tennessee Vols have the best player in the country, and it's not Nico. It's the defensive end, James Pierce.
Great take, Brett. That was my sort of takeaway from Tennessee NC State was, boy, that Tennessee defense is one of the best I've seen at Tennessee in a long time. I mean, NC State had it going on that first series, but after that first series, man, it was every yard was a fight for the Wolfpack. And I'm a little worried maybe when Tennessee gets later into the schedule and they face some opponents that can expose them in the downfield passing game a little bit more. Because Tennessee does have so many new players in its secondary, that is a bit of a concern. But when you have a defensive end like James Pierce and that level of depth on your defensive line, the opposing quarterback might not ever have time to let those downfield shots develop. So, that was incredibly encouraging, the way Tennessee's defense came out and shut down NC State.
It was Johnny Major's brand of football. Play good defense and ride the run game.
Yeah, without a doubt. And Nico threw 2 interceptions, and they still scored.
He didn't play that good.
No. Yeah, he was fine, but he wasn't. A lot of people thought, well, Tennessee's offense will just come out and put up 600 yards on those guys. I mean, that really wasn't the case. It was a defensively dominant performance. You had a pick 6 in there for Tennessee. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I kind of got away from this game once it was out of hand, but I think NC State's only touchdown was on a defensive score as well, right? So, Tennessee's defense was just incredible. And that's always been the knock or the rub, the hang-up with Josh Heupel is that, but that system, you're never going to have a great defense. I think they're kind of maybe going to prove otherwise this year. And, they're not the only one. Ole Miss kind of plays a similar style, and they're a well-rounded, versatile team as well. I think unfairly that offensive system has gotten labeled as, you're just trying to throw it around, and but Tennessee and Ole Miss are demonstrating
not
that
true.
They can be complete teams while playing with that offensive system.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The most common misconception about Lane Kiffin is he's 5 wides, air raid. Fundamentally, he is a run the ball coach and put pressure on the defense from his defensive upbringing around his dad with passing. How good do you think Ole Miss is? I know Ole Miss badly needs to really be challenged. They need some adversity. They need to be punched in the mouth.
Yeah, maybe Wake Forest can at least keep it close through a quarter or something, right? Like that would be, the first half of the Ole Miss schedule is really light, but you know what? That's not a bad thing. I mean,
getting lighter maybe.
Yeah,
it gives them a chance to put up some ridiculous numbers. That's for sure. I mean, what that offense has done through 2 games is just insane. No, I'm a believer. I've had Ole Miss ranked ahead of Alabama all season, leading into this season. My opinion was that Ole Miss should be ranked ahead of Alabama, and I think what we saw on Saturday sort of only validated that. I realized that the final score of that Alabama game was fairly lopsided. But if you watched it, you know that Alabama was in a dogfight until the later stages of the fourth quarter with South Florida. And so anyway, the opposition has been lacking for Ole Miss. But how do you knock a team for doing what Ole Miss has done? It's just been absolutely almost perfect and just totally dominant.
Yeah. Well, David, I know right now your main focus is college football, but you also do a fantastic job covering college basketball for CBS Sports. And last week was an interesting week, to say the least, for Memphis basketball with what happened with Penny Hardaway. What did you make of kind of last week as a whole for Penny?
Yeah, never would have thought that in the first week of September I'd be doing more Memphis basketball articles than college football articles in a given week. But, boy, that's the Penny Hardaway effect, isn't it?
That's right.
Everything he does, even on the national websites, is going to be under the microscope to a greater degree, for better or for worse, than it is with almost any other coach. And for the first couple of years of his tenure, it was for the better that Penny receives that amount of attention because he had things rolling. He was recruiting well. There were initial signs of on-court progress that hey, the season ticket sales were up, and there was a lot of buzz and excitement around that program. And so the microscope that Penny Hardaway brings was a great thing. Now it's not a great thing because what may have been a non-story somewhere else is a 3-day story nationally because of who he is. And no, it's a mess. I mean, he's got to get this thing going back in the right direction on the court. That's the only thing that is going to make people want to put up with the perpetual circus that is all things Memphis basketball otherwise. So I mean, they've got a good roster though. They've got a challenging schedule. They've got every opportunity. If they're going to hire Nolan Smith and Mike Davis, that gives them an upgrade on the coaching staff. But at this point, it's hard to look at year 7 of the Penny Hardaway era and realistically expect anything much different than what we've seen for the first 6.
It's not going to, and Ed Scott was emphatic about it late last week in a media round that Penny Hardaway is going to be the coach opening night. I hope that's the case. I respectfully disagree, but I hope I'm wrong. David, if Penny Hardaway was out today, he's not, but if he was out today, what got him? What cost him?
I think it's an accumulation of factors. I don't think it's any one smoking gun. I don't think it's the recruiting violations that were alleged in the anonymous letter. That's what did it. I don't think it's they just couldn't tolerate the fact that he had to make so many coaching staff changes this offseason. I think it's the accumulation of 3, now maybe a 4th NCAA investigation because of some of the allegations that surfaced last week. And then it's the continual turnover on the staff. It's the continually unmet expectations on the court. And ultimately, I guess that's what it comes down to, is if you are making Sweet 16s, if you are winning the AAC outright on a regular basis, people will put up with all of the nonsense. They'll be willing to do that. But if you are not delivering on the court and you are providing more headaches off the court, then at some point it's just not worth it anymore. And I think that's the conundrum that Penny finds himself in. Because you know what? Kansas has found a way to keep Bill Self. And I think it has a little something to do with national title. I think that's what it is. And so, that was Penny's goal. He's pretty open about that early in his tenure, and they've come nowhere close to reaching it. So it's that's ultimately what it comes down to.
Your accumulation of things that ultimately leads up to what you laid it out very well, leads to mine, and it goes back to my biggest reticence when he was hired, when the coup occurred and Tubby was out and he was in. The lack of experience. This is not a training wheels job.
Yeah, and I think the NIL era did nothing to help Penny Hardaway because in a world where all things are at least supposed to be level in terms of what the players are making, which it used to be that they were supposed to be making nothing, right? We know that wasn't always the case, but in that theoretical world anyway, people were going to come play for Penny Hardaway, players, talent that maybe wouldn't have otherwise. Now it's become a bidding war. It's how much can you offer? Memphis is competitive in NIL without a doubt, but it's not like you're going to see a 5-star freshman say, you know what, nah, I'm not going to go play for Kansas because I can go play for Penny Hardaway. Well, no, if Kansas can offer you 3 times as much money, you're going to go play for Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that's helped him either. But the lack of experience is obviously, I mean, yeah, it's not East High School, it's not AAU, and there's a lot of landmines and a lot of problems that you got to have trustworthy people to help you navigate and manage. And obviously, all the staff turnover, he's just not had the trustworthy advisors around him to guide him through that, or maybe he just hasn't delegated things to those guys well enough. But I think that's obviously a big part of this.
Yeah. David, last thing for you. Saturday, John Rothstein put out a Q&A that he had done with Penny Hardaway. Did you see any of that? What was your takeaway from some of those answers? I thought it was just a very, very strange Q&A from Penny Hardaway. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I thought it was strange too, and it kind of flew under the radar a little bit coming out on a college football Saturday.
Yeah.
But just really defensive. It seemed like to me, just not fully grasping reality in terms of why Memphis fans might be a little fed up with the way this thing has gone. Unnecessary, really. I mean, he wants to defend the record, and the record itself is good, but at the end of the day, you got to have production in the NCAA tournament at a place like Memphis, and he hasn't had that. And you can point to a myriad of factors or reasons why, but he also suggested that you go and look at the records of other coaches through 6 years and compare those with his side by side. And I just kind of went down that rabbit hole for a little bit, and it's not hard. It's not hard to find coaches who, in their first 6 years, had more than one NCAA tournament victory. There's quite a few of them. Even guys who were at programs with way less resources and way less potential than Memphis. So,
didn't we have one with Josh Pastner here?
Yeah, exactly. So you put up his results next to Josh Pastner's, and it's hard to tell much of a difference. In fact, Josh Pastner, I think, has more NCAA tournament victories. So,
Dave, I've never seen anybody so proud to win an NIT, but yet last year turned down an NIT bid.
Yeah, exactly. And so, hey, look, the bottom has never fallen out on the court. They've never won fewer than 20 games. That's to his credit. And if they had won 8 games last year, he wouldn't be the coach right now. In some ways, the on-court results are why he is still the coach. But if he's not the coach moving forward, it's also because of the on-court results. They just have not been good enough to justify all the headaches, and they've also not been bad enough to just kick him out, onto the street, right? Like, this is Penny Hardaway. This is a native son. This is a legend. Everybody wants it to work.
He's bigger than the program.
And I mean, literally, there's a Hall of Fame on campus named after him. I mean, he is the GOAT. And so you want to, I think Ed Scott wants it to work. I really believe that. I mean, I know there might be competing factions within the booster world, within the administration, maybe even to a certain degree, but I believe that Ed Scott wants it to work. And I believe that Ed Scott is trying to surround Penny Hardaway with the people and the circumstances that can make it work. How willing is Penny to play ball in all of that? That's probably the biggest question and the determining factor on whether or not it works out.
Well, David, enjoy New York. Enjoy your game tonight, and we'll talk to you again next Monday.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, David. David Cobb joining us from CBS Sports, where he covers college football and college basketball. We need to get to a break, and when we come back, it will be time for our Sissy's Log Cabin look back at the weekend in the SEC.
Today. Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. the rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. 5 Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 5 Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Rich Eisen here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. Coming up to start the Monday night primetime season, Aaron Rodgers makes his return at quarterback for the New York Jets when they travel west to take on the San Francisco 49ers. Kevin Harlan and Hall of Famer Kurt Warner will have the call, and I'll get you started with the pregame. Join us on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
This is the story of the woman. As a warehouse manager, her job is to transform chaos into clarity and to see patterns where others see problems. Luckily, she's got a partner who shares her perspective. Ranger offers over 1 million industrial-grade products, backed by real-person support and in-depth online resources, so she can tackle every task with precision and turn potential setbacks into streamlined success. Call Ranger.com or just stop by. Ranger, for the ones who get it done.
Vanguard is 100% client-owned, serving over 50 million investors every day. Whether you're planning for retirement, putting your kids through college, or saving up for your next adventure, Vanguard can help you set personalized investment goals. All investing is subject to risk. Vanguard is owned by its funds, which are owned by Vanguard's fund shareholder clients. Copyright 2024, the Vanguard Group, Inc., all rights reserved, Vanguard Marketing Corporation Distributor.
Welcome to the Rendezvous.
This is John Vergas. When my dad started the Rendezvous in 1948, I don't think anyone could have imagined we'd still be serving shoulder, cheese plates, and our world-famous dry rub ribs 75 years later. But we are still here in the basement, in an alley in downtown Memphis. We sincerely thank you for making the Rendezvous what it is today. Charlie Vergas Rendezvous, a legendary experience for over 75 years, whether you dine in, pick up, or ship across the country.
Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies with 9,000 square foot in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant and Brett.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up.
Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get it. Deflection is caught. Deflection is caught. And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta.
The national champion is clad in big orange.
It got started early on Saturday morning with what we thought was going to be this young season's game of the year. It was not. It was a big dud. Texas 31-12 over Michigan in Ann Arbor. I said they'd win 31-10. I missed by 2 points. Shucks. 3 touchdowns for Quinn Ewers, 82 yards rushing for Big Blue. This week, Texas will go to UTSA, and that will be at Darrell K. Royal Stadium at 6 o'clock on ESPN. UTSA may give them a better game than Michigan.
Yeah, they might. I mean, David Cobb said it well. Michigan needs to find a quarterback. On the other side, Texas has their quarterback. Quinn Ewers was awesome in that game. The run game was good, 143 yards on the ground. This offense looks great. The defense looked really good. Texas is back, Brett.
They are back.
Yeah.
They were back last year. It's official, and they're going to be something to contend with as long as Sark is there. Another early game Saturday was Arkansas visiting Stillwater. Oklahoma State wins that one 39-31 in 2 overtimes. Arkansas outrushed, outpassed, rolled up 685 total yards. Taylor Green, 416 passing. Jaquindon Jackson, 149 rushing with 3 touchdowns. Andrew Armstrong, 164 yards receiving. They hold Ollie Gordon to 49 yards rushing, but they still lose. You have a pick 6 when they're up 21-0. They have the fumble punt, coaching miscues. Everyone saying, how did Arkansas lose? It's simple. Sam Pittman's not a very good coach, and you combine that with horrible luck, and he has it in his first head coaching job or stint as a head coach. It reminds me of Josh Pastner here. He had bad luck, and he was average. That's a horrible combination.
It's not a good combination, and we definitely saw it on Saturday because watching that game, I thought there was no way in the world Arkansas was going to lose that one. But then
had it won.
But then when it went to overtime, I knew that Oklahoma State was going to win that game. But I think you look at the offense, I think the offense was very promising in this game. You mentioned it. 416 yards passing, 230 yards rushing. Good game offensively. It was just late in the game. They could not finish at all, Oklahoma State. I still don't know how they won that game.
Ollie Gordon might be a 500-yard rusher if he played in the SEC. Arkansas this week at home against Trent Dilfer and UAB. That's 3:15 on SEC Network. Won't spend a lot of time on this one. A&M, they rebound after losing Notre Dame 52-10 over McNeese. Connor Wegman, 2 touchdowns. Mike Elko gets his first win at Texas A&M. They should be humiliated at their performance against Notre Dame after seeing what NIU did. This week, Aggies go to the Swamp, 2:30 on ABC.
Yeah, you mentioned it. Not much to add here. I mean, Connor Wegman gets 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, better than his first game. But you're right. You feel good, I guess. You feel better if you're Texas A&M after you win that game, and then everything, that bubble just gets popped after you see Notre Dame get beat later in the afternoon. But, fine win for Texas A&M.
Maybe even less to add here. Georgia wins 48-3 over Tennessee Tech. Carson Beck, 5 touchdowns. 9 penalties for Georgia, though, this week. Georgia on the road at Kentucky, 6:30 on ABC.
Yeah, I mean, Carson Beck's a really good quarterback. I think we already knew that, and he played well in that game. But, this is Georgia being Georgia against FCS team. You really didn't expect anything different.
The upset of the day in the SEC, Cal, the Golden Bears, 21-14 over Auburn on the Plains. Peyton Thorne, 4 interceptions, 5 Auburn touchdowns. California, they had 11 penalties and punted 7 times and still won. They didn't play great.
No.
This week, Auburn at home against New Mexico. Thank goodness it's not New Mexico State. 6:30 on ESPN this week for Auburn.
Be careful with New Mexico, though. They've got a fun offense to watch. Devin Dampier is one of the most underrated, no, not one of the most underrated quarterback in all of college football. But, yeah, this game was the most excruciating game to watch. Cal didn't look good. Auburn looked atrocious. Not a fun game to watch, but Cal gets the big road win, and Auburn has a lot of questions to answer after what we saw on Saturday.
The only SEC game of last weekend, South Carolina, they win handily 31-6 over Kentucky. Shane Beamer, 2-0. Lenora Sellers was so much better than Brock Vandegrift. South Carolina had a pick 6. Kentucky, 3 of 14 on third down. Vandegrift only 30 yards passing. South Carolina this week, they host game day in LSU, 11 o'clock on ABC. Kentucky, they play Georgia at 6:30 on ABC.
Yeah, I did not expect this at all. South Carolina offensively looked really bad in their first game, but they bounced back. Lenora Sellers looked a lot better in this game, like you mentioned, Brett. On the other side, Brock Vandegrift, I think a lot of people really high on him coming in, but after what we saw yesterday, maybe not so much. 3 for 10, only 30 yards, got a little banged up, left the game, threw an interception. But, if South Carolina can continue to play like this, maybe a good season for them. But Kentucky, this definitely did not look like a Kentucky team that we have come to know and love over the last couple of seasons.
Kentucky fans aren't going to get uneasy with Mark Stoops, are they?
No, I don't think so. But, man, if they play a lot more games where they only score 6 points and comes from 2 field goals, I think they might.
He set a better standard. Now he's not getting to it. it goes with the territory. Ole Miss 52-3 over Middle. Tennessee, Jackson Dart with more touchdowns this year than incompletions.
Crazy.
Ole Miss needs to be challenged. Henry Parrish, 4 touchdowns, 165 yards rushing. This week, maybe the challenge will be the Demon Deacons. Ole Miss at Wake Forest on the CW at 5:30 coming up this Saturday. That's after a Dawson's Creek reunion on the CW.
How about that? I love that. Good for them. Great television on the CW, I guess, when you can go from that to Ole Miss and Wake Forest. But no, you're right. Ole Miss needs the challenge. But,
I don't know if any of that's true.
Well, but it sounds right. I mean, it sounds like what would be happening on the CW. But, this offense looks great. They need challenges, and they'll get that later in the season. But I think when you talk about playing, lesser competition like they've played through the first 2 games, this is what you want to see from your offense. And that nugget that you added in there, more touchdowns than incomplete passes. I don't care who you're playing. That's a really good nugget. Ole Miss, another easy win. But like you said, we'll see if Wake Forest can give them a little bit of a challenge.
Alabama wins 42-16 on the night that Nick Saban Field was dedicated. USF outgained Alabama rushing, 206 yards rushing, 13 penalties for Alabama. Milroe, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. This week, Bama at Wisconsin, 11 o'clock on Fox. They're 2-0, but it reminded me a little bit. In 1999, the All-Star game was in Boston, and pregame was just a celebration of Ted Williams. And he was there, and Tony Gwynn went out pregame and kind of had the meeting and the laying on the hands of those 2 great batsmen. It was all downhill after that. Nobody even cared about the game after that. Saturday night at Bryant-Denny, now Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium, it felt like that. The pomp and circumstance, it was impossible for the game to live up to it.
Oh, no, it definitely did. No team puts a scare into Alabama like USF does. I mean, the last 2 seasons, there have been a lot of
I think
really
they got
scared
one more
Alabama
on that
fans.
contract.
Oh, geez. I love that. I really hope they do. But, it got to the point where USF, all they could do was run the ball. They run for over 200 yards. Byron Brown, 108 yards. But at the end of the day, Alabama woke up in the fourth quarter and said, hey, boys, we are the Alabama Crimson Tide. Let's lock in 28 points in the fourth quarter to make this game, the final score, look like it wasn't even a competitive matchup, 42-16. Good for them. But they definitely, Alabama has some things to work on for sure.
Mizzou 38-0 over Buffalo. Brady Cook, 2 rushing touchdowns. They held Buffalo to 169 yards total offense. This week, Mizzou versus BC. That's a sneaky good game. 11 o'clock on SEC Network. Mizzou, like Ole Miss, they need to be challenged, and they're going to get more of a challenge against BC than Ole Miss is going to get at Wake Forest.
No, they absolutely will. But I think the story of this game was the defense. You mentioned they looked great because coming into the season, a lot of people kind of knew what to expect from this offense, but the biggest question was what will that defense look like through 2 games? I know it's been against lesser competition, but the defense has looked good. If that can continue, I think Missouri's going to have a really good season.
Florida 45-7 over Samford. The DJ Lagway debut, 456, 3 touchdowns for him, and he's probably going to be the quarterback for the next head coach there.
Oh, yeah.
Samford, not much of a challenge. This Saturday, 2:30 on ABC, Gators and Aggies at the Swamp.
That's going to be a big game for both those teams. Both of them will definitely be looking for a win after their season started in week 1. DJ Lagway looked great. He's definitely the quarterback of the future at Florida. Antoine Hill, now committed to Memphis, said so during his recruiting process. He said that every coach there said he was going to come in
Thank you, DJ.
and learn from learn from DJ Lagway. He looked good, but at the end of the day, against Samford's not a very good team right now. But Florida definitely needed a convincing win, and they got it on Saturday.
We talked a lot about it with David Cobb. Tennessee 51-10 over NC State. Nico Mania, he was good. He wasn't great. 276 total yards offensively, 3 touchdowns, 39 yards rushing for NC State, 143 total offensive yards. It was a manhandling by the Vols in Charlotte. Tennessee this week play Kent State on the SEC Network at 6:45 Saturday night.
Yeah, I think the big takeaway from this game for Tennessee is your offense didn't have their best performance by any means. Nico's going to have much better games than that, and I think you're offensively as a whole going to have better games. But when your defense can go out and do what they did against an experienced quarterback in Grayson McCall, an NC State team that a lot of people were really excited about coming into the season, when your defense can go out and shut down completely that team and you can rely on your offense, maybe if the pass game isn't isn't working like you want it to, you go to the run game. Run game isn't working, you can go to the pass game. That looks like what Tennessee has, nearly 250 yards rushing. You got to love that if you're a Tennessee fan.
LSU 44-21 at Tiger Stadium. Garrett Nussmeier's Tiger Stadium debut, 6 touchdowns passing. Big takeaway, though. Jacoby and Guillory injured, torn Achilles in that LSU already thin defensive line. LSU only 3 yards per carry rushing while being outrushed by Nicholls State this week, part of game day in Columbia against South Carolina, 11 o'clock on ABC.
Yeah, you definitely get some bad news with injury there, but I thought Gus Meyer looked really good in his debut at down at LSU.
2-0 Vanderbilt, 55-0 over Alcorn State. Going for 3-0 this week on the road, though.
Yeah.
Vandy at Georgia State this week. That game at 6 o'clock Saturday night on SEC Net Plus, I think, or ESPN Plus. The unlikely 3-0 for Vandy, 18 first downs to 6 for the Commodores.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of bettors with their slips in their hand this weekend with that over 2.5 wins.
Got to sit on
season. You do got to sit on it, but it definitely feel good if they can start the season 3-0. I'll be honest, I didn't watch much of this game, but definitely when you look and see,
I watched not a play.
55. Yeah, I didn't either. When you look and you see 55-0, it's a good win for Vanderbilt to beat anybody 55-0.
Way to go, Clark.
I anchor down. Good for Vanderbilt.
Oklahoma 16-12 over Houston.
Man.
Jackson Arnold 2 touchdowns passing. They were 27.5-point favorite. Everybody loved OU. Yeah, I loved OU. I thought they'd roll it up. They defeat Willie Fritz this week. They play Willie Fritz old school, Tulane, when they play Tulane this coming Saturday, 2:30 in Norman. OU 4-14 on third down. Leading rusher for OU. Oklahoma, leading rusher, 40 yards.
Brett, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Oklahoma needed this game on Saturday. I think they got a little too big for their britches after the runaway win over Temple. They needed to get popped in the mouth against a bad Houston team. They needed this win.
Well,
They'll bounce back after it.
Okay. They
Maybe.
get John Summerall in the greenies this week. Last game, late night, Saturday night. Started out, looked like it was going to be a blowout. Mississippi State fought hard to make a game at the end. At the end, 30-23, Arizona State over Mississippi State in Tempe. Cam Scatterbo, 262 yards rushing for the Sun Devils. State only had 30 yards rushing, but Blake Shapen, he was sharp, 18 of 28, 268, 2 touchdowns. Mississippi State, they fought hard to the end and only had 3 penalties. You can see this coming together for Jeff Lebby. It's going to take some time, but you can see that he's going to have them very proud and playing hard. Come back from 30-10 to make it a game this week. State versus Toledo at 6:30 down at Davis Wade Stadium at Scott Field in Starkville on ESPN.
Yeah, I love what you said, Brett, because there's a lot of teams that in this same situation, new coach, a lot of bad stuff going on the past couple of years, they would have laid down on the road, late night. They would have checked out. Not this Mississippi State team, and I think if you can take anything away, that's something you can build off of. That's how you create a program, and I know the kind of hit word everyone used, a culture in your program. Mm-hmm. That's how they're created.
It has to start somewhere.
It starts somewhere. You see that fight, and it definitely matters.
Lay a cornerstone somewhere. That's our look back at the weekend from the SEC, brought to you every Monday at this time by Sissy's Log Cabin. Since 1970, with all the great locations across Arkansas and Tennessee, Sissy's offers a selection of diamonds, estate jewelry, and fine gifts. Official jeweler of the hometown teams, the Memphis Grizzlies, and FedEx Forum of the Floor Seat Lounge, and the Memphis Tigers. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary shopping experience, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Well, let's get to a break. When we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
When you think about insurance and you want great value without sacrificing great service, I want you to think one place: the Eflin Insurance and the entire Eflin Insurance team. Matt and his group of professionals will access 10 leading companies to find the right home and auto program that fits your budget and your absolute needs. The Eflin Insurance team, the number 386-GER, 386-4777.
Country music singer-songwriter Kylie Morgan loves her ring from Genesis Diamonds.
systems across the Mid-South. To the tens of thousands of clients we've served, we are honored. So many of you call our team at Brian Elder Roofing your roofers. Our team is dedicated to serving you and keeping your family safe, dry, and mold-free. The recent hailstorms have caused massive damage, and many of these will go unnoticed for years, even though the golf ball-sized hail we just experienced in the Mid-South compromises even the best-built roof system. Whether we find damage or not, your photos are securely stored for future reference. Call Brian Elder Roofing today for a total evaluation of your entire roof system free. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. Call me at 901-867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. Or visit us online at brianelderroofing.com.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa set. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa set might go on forever. Family Leisure. Wit and Run at I-40. Family and fun come together. Now back to Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Well, I have two big numbers today, one from the NFL and one from college football. I'll start with college because that happened earlier. My big number is the number, I should say my first big number, is the number 9. Ashton Gentry, the running back for Boise State, has 9 rushing touchdowns through 2 games this season, which is incredible. That's the most by an FBS player through his team's first 2 games of a season since Ricky Williams in his Heisman-winning season of 1998, where he also scored 9 touchdowns through 2 games. So Ashton Gentry off to an incredible start of the season for Boise State.
Did you think he was that good here last year against the Tigers?
Not that good. I thought he was good, but
Boy, with Taylor Green and him.
Holy cow. I mean,
that was a great win for Memphis last year.
It was a fantastic win. You're absolutely right.
And that's when everybody was so mad at Ryan.
No, you're definitely right about that. So that's my first big number. I think a really, really good one. My second big number, only a couple numbers away, is the number 5. Anthony Richardson, he wears the number 5, but that is not why this big number is the number 5. Anthony Richardson is the second player in NFL history to have at least 5 passing touchdowns and 5 rushing touchdowns through 5 career games. That joins Cam Newton, who did it in 2011. So good stuff from Anthony Richardson. That one touchdown throw he had
where he slipped, 60 yards.
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
The one where he
He's gonna be so
was
good.
backing up and he was about to get tackled. He just kind of jumps up and throws it and launches it. I mean, he's incredible.
And he's still learning how to play quarterback.
Absolutely.
He has a Kyle Boulder type arm. I mean, it is just huge.
That's a great comparison. I think that was a number 5 too, wasn't he?
Bowler? I believe so. I believe so. Ah, look at that.
Darren,
How about that?
top rope. How about that? My big number is 34. That's the number of years since the last time the Tigers played Florida State, back to the 1990 football season. Old Metro basketball brothers. There's a lot of bad feelings there about what the Metro could have been in football, but Bobby Bowden wouldn't allow it. FSU leads the all-time series 10-7-1. 10 wins, 7 losses for the Tigers and a tie. That's all time. The last Tiger win, 1976, 21-12 at Simmons Bank Liberty Stadium. I think that was a stretch of about 3 or 4 straight for Memphis in those days. Now, 76 was Bobby Bowden's first year at Tallahassee, and he was turning it around, good in 77. And then after the 78 season, there were Ole Miss people that thought they could have gotten Bobby Bowden to leave FSU because FSU was going through, do we really commit to this? And Bowden had to get an answer. They played the Tigers in the morning of that game, and the commercial appeal was the story of, is FSU going to stay serious about football?
Wow.
Steve Sloan got hired at Ole Miss. They committed to Bowden, and the rest is history.
The rest is definitely history on that one. That's a really good nugget. I did not know all of that, but it's definitely a big week here locally as the Tigers get ready for this game against Florida State. So let's go ahead and wrap up this hour and get to a break, because when we come back, we're talking to Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer over at the Commercial Appeal. We'll talk about what happened on Saturday. Really, we didn't get to talk to Jonah last week because of Labor Day Monday, so we'll have to talk about what the Tigers have done through the first 2 weeks of the season, but really start previewing the game on Saturday against Florida State. So stick with us. Jonah Dillon, he joins us next on Sports Time.
Traffic brought to you by 901 Eats to Go, 3135 Kirby Whitten Road in Bartlett. Pick up, DoorDash, Uber Eats, or online at 901eats.com. Eats with a Z. Good food fast.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Five Ash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com. 367-0050 or MemphisRoofer.com.
Ulta Beauty's 21 Days of Beauty event is back. From now until September 19th, score over 200 daily beauty steals at 50% off in every category. And check Ulta.com daily to get them all before they're gone. Take 50% off bestsellers from brands like Estee Lauder and Supergoop. Plus, say hello to new finds from brands like Dyson and Sol de Janeiro. And Ilia is now at Ulta Beauty in select stores and online. Shop in-store at Ulta.com or try pickup today. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful. Conditions apply while supplies last.
Progressive knows finding your new home was a dream come true. You wanted a colonial with high ceilings, hardwood floors, and a peaceful neighborhood. And you found it. Now, every Saturday at 6 a.m., you get to wake to the sound of your neighbor's leaf blower. Progressive can't save you from your noisy neighbors, but we can save you money when you bundle your home and auto with us. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers not available in all states.
Rick's Powder Coating for a beautiful finish every time. Rick's Powder Coating specializes in automotive, ornamental, residential, and industrial coating. With 2 conveyor lines and the largest batch ovens in the Mid-South, Rick's can accommodate all of your powder coating needs. Locally owned and operated since 2002, Rick's Powder Coating will customize a beautiful finish just for you. Drop by or call to see how Rick's Powder Coating can bring color to your life. 901-367-2771 or rickspowdercoating.com.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studios, we are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant and Brett with you in our Family Leisure Studios, and joining us now on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line, Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer for the Commercial Appeal, joins us. Talk some Tigers and preview this game on Saturday between Memphis and Florida State. Jonah, thanks so much for joining us. We didn't get to catch up with you last week. We were off for Labor Day, so I guess through 2 games of the season, what has impressed you the most about this Tiger football team?
Well, I'll probably have to start with the defense. The defense has been really impressive. You know, Troy scored some kind of garbage time touchdowns on Saturday, but besides that, it was really just one drive that Troy had early in the game where they scored a touchdown, obviously a shutout against North Alabama in the first game, and the defense looks a lot different than it did last year. Guys are running around, there's a lot of speed and athleticism, and that's something that we knew coming into the season. The defense is going to have to improve, and they've been the story for the first 2 weeks of the season. Obviously, the offense has put up enough points. There's been a couple things that they obviously want to work on offensively, especially in the passing game. But the fact that we're talking about the defense after 2 weeks is a good sign for where this team wants to go.
Mm-hmm. Jonah, that is a great take, and Saturday committed to, and really they were able to run the ball. I said earlier, Jonah, there's a lot of markers for being a good team. You know, not penalized that much, being able to run the ball. But when you can pound a team you're supposed to pound, like the Tigers did UNA, and then really just toy with Troy, there was never a time in that game you thought, all right, Troy, make a play here, look out. Not any. Memphis had that in full control.
Yeah, Troy, and we have to caveat, obviously, Troy's quarterback got injured on the touchdown run, actually, and they really looked at his starts after that. But I think the ability that Memphis had, like you said, just to kind of control the game, especially in the trenches, is really impressive. And you go back to last season, Memphis played a lot of these teams that Memphis was favored to beat and went and was toying with them in the wrong way, in the sense that these games were close. You think about the North Texas game, the Charlotte game. Memphis came into those games with a significant, being a favorite, and then those games did not go well until the end. So it's impressive that, Troy was a team that played very well last year, obviously, and people thought could come in here and give Memphis a scare. They really didn't. They had nothing for them. And after that first drive, there was really nothing. It was clear that from that point on, it wasn't going to be a close game.
Yeah. The run game has been fun to watch. Mario Anderson was really good in the most recent game against Troy, but it's come with some hits. Sutton Smith now officially out for the season. Ryan Silverfield said that after Saturday's game. Now, without Sutton Smith, when you look at this running back room, what do you think of it and how it hold up throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, it's a real bummer that Sutton Smith suffered that injury and that he suffered it so early in the season before the end of the first quarter. We spent so much time in the offseason talking about Sutton Smith and about how he could do this season. It was going to be a breakout year in his skill set. And, Mario Anderson said it after the game, you can't replace Sutton because you can't replace his skill set. He was one of the most unique skill sets of any player on the team in terms of explosiveness, and we've seen what he could do in the past. So you look at Mario Anderson, who obviously was going to play a big role anyways in the running game, and he'll be the number one running back moving forward. Greg DeBossier is going to be a huge part of this running game, both in the backfield, and he's someone that they want to line up in different places. They want to get him the ball in space. You see how fast he is. When he touches the ball, it looks like he's kind of, any moment he could just break away from everybody. And that's why Seth Hennigan last week referred to him as Sutton-esque in terms of his skill set. And so that's the other name that's going to be the new face to kind of pay attention to in the run game. And then obviously you've got Brandon Thomas, who's still playing as the goal line back and is putting up really ridiculous stats in terms of percentage of carries that result in touchdowns. Last year it was 9 touchdowns on 39 carries, and this year is even better. 3 carries so far, 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
Jonah, the complexion of a season, the ebbs and flows, it can really change drastically. The idea of Memphis 2-0 and FSU 0-2, I don't think many had that. Do you think Ryan Silverfield needs to remind his team, this is Florida State. All these players, everybody in college football wanted them.
No, because I think Florida State, look, we saw it with one of the things is they played those 2 games, the first 2 games of the season, and they were on at times where there was no other game on when they were playing. So everybody in the country is watching them, and everybody's watching them and saying, this team is not very good, and here's why. Now, they've had 2 weeks. They had a bye last week, so they've had 2 weeks to figure it out. And they've had 2 weeks to listen to everybody talk about how their season is over and, their embarrassment, and they went from being number 10 in the country to being unranked and all that stuff. So you have to expect that Memphis is going to get their best shot on Saturday. And so if you're a Tigers coach or a player, you have to be thinking about it like we have to prepare for the team that was ranked number 10 coming into the season that everybody thought was going to dominate on both sides of the ball. So we know that Florida State obviously has problems to clean up, but I would expect that Memphis is gearing up for a game against the team that we thought Florida State was going to be in the offseason.
Yeah, I think that's a really good observation on your part. When you look at this Florida State team and what they've done the first 2 games, how do you view – what are the weaknesses that you see that you think, after watching Memphis these first 2 games, that they can really exploit and kind of take advantage of on Saturday?
Yeah, there's a lot, right? Because like I said, we've been watching Florida State. We've seen what went wrong. They have serious problems in the passing game. Now, everyone has decided, that's it, DJ, you can't play football or whatever. I think with 2 weeks to prepare, I would expect that they're going to have some stuff figured out. They're not going to look like they did, especially in that Boston College game. You kind of got to break it down. Against Georgia Tech, they didn't play great, but there were things that they did well, and they lost on a last-second field goal. Boston College, that was the more concerning game to me because they just looked out of it for pretty much the entire game. And the degree to which they were getting dominated in the trenches is the biggest concern if you're a Florida State fan, because that was supposed to be the strength of the team. And that's something that Memphis, when you go play a power conference team, you expect Memphis is going to lose the battle in the trenches because of the caliber of athlete that those schools are able to get. But based on how Florida State has played in those 2 games, I'm not sure that's even going to be true. And so you've got to expect, you're going to try to run the ball and see what happens. And then defensively, I would expect Jordan Hankins to bring pressure against DJU and see what he can do, basically see how much he's improved in the last 2 weeks.
Jonah, except for the Florida State secondary, I don't know that they have a position group that I would take over the Tigers.
Well, it's tough. You would have said, I certainly would have said before the season I would take their defensive line. People are saying they would take their defensive line over any defensive line in the country, right? So it's hard to say. And look, you probably would have said that you would take their quarterback. And in terms of skill positions, they've already got a lot of talent on that team. It's hard. You want to overreact to what they did in the first 2 games of the season because I just don't expect that that's going to be the team we see. Because if we see the same team that played against Boston College, they're going to lose and their season is going to be over. That's just the reality of it. And so you have to think that they're going to get a better shot. Memphis, I think, is probably being underrated by people nationally because they haven't paid as much attention to Memphis and they don't know the caliber of player that Memphis has and the expectations that the Tigers have for this season. So it's kind of a weird game in terms of expectations because I think we're a little bit off on both teams.
It's still that big national breakout moment, though, for Memphis. I know some will view it as, okay, they beat FSU, who hadn't? Well, the 2 that beat FSU before that, Georgia Tech and Boston College, that was conference games. This is still a battle of budgets and 5 stars and recruiting stars. It still would be a prominent win, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would be huge. Just for the program to go on the road, play against a power conference team, beat them, no matter who the opponent is, that's going to be a huge thing. We talk about this season and the expectations and where Memphis wants to go. If you can take that, you don't need to worry about, you go beat Florida State, you don't need to worry about what they do the rest of the season. But you can take that momentum and that confidence going to conference play, which is going to start the next week at Navy, which is not going to be an easy game. And so I think confidence-wise, it would be huge for Memphis, and it doesn't even matter where Florida State is or where they go in terms of the importance for Memphis in that sense.
You wrote a story earlier today kind of talking about what Ryan Silverfield had to say earlier today about this upcoming game, and especially what it means with it being Mike Norvell versus Ryan Silverfield. And he kind of said it's not going to be Silverfield versus Norvell. I loved one of his quotes that said, "Him and I probably won't talk this week. Maybe you will send a jab or two via text message." What has he said about his relationship with Mike Norvell and kind of, I know he says he doesn't want it to be Silverfield versus Norvell, but that's going to be big for him, a big game for him to go up against the former head coach and a guy that he coached under on Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And he said that right off the bat, it's not Silverfield versus Norvell. And obviously on the field, it makes sense. On the other sense, I'm gonna spend all week writing articles about Silverfield and Norvell, so stay tuned for that. And obviously that will be a storyline. Like, it makes sense on both counts, because you've got Mike Norvell, who did so well at Memphis and meant so much to this program, and this being his first game against his former team, and not in the sense of, I'm going to be just to kind of remember what he did in Memphis. And from what I've seen, going into this week, it seems like Memphis fans are feeling pretty good about it and appreciative of Mike Norvell. And when he spoke earlier today, he was very appreciative of Memphis and talked about how much he loved the city and the program, and of course his relationship with Ryan Silverfield. So it's all positive on both sides. There hasn't been any. There were a couple games because Ryan Silverfield did say that Mike Norvell is going to run a play on the second series of the game. So I don't know if that was now Mike Norvell is going to try to do it to get back at him, or if he was trying to play mind games to stop him from doing that. So I think that was a good press conference back and forth. We'll see how that unfolds. So watch out for the second series. But yeah, I think obviously they have a good relationship. They worked together for a long time, even before they were in Memphis. It goes back to Arizona State, and it's just a cool storyline heading into this game.
Absolutely.
11 o'clock Saturday morning Memphis time, 12 noon down at Doak Campbell. Have you ever covered a game at Doak Campbell, high above FSU's playing field?
I have not, but I'm very much looking forward to it. Especially because they've got renovations to their stadium, right. So part of that section, I think near the press box is blocked out, but I'm expecting it to still be a great atmosphere.
No, absolutely. It's going to be a lot of fun. You mentioned the defense earlier. I want to go back to that because I was really impressed with how Elijah Herring played on Saturday against Troy, led the team in tackles, played really well. I believe recovered the fumble that Troy had, but also Kobe Minor, who I know you've talked a lot about before, kind of a guy that committed kind of late in the process, in the transfer portal process, if I remember correctly. Those two guys coming in via the transfer portal, how big have those guys been both on and off the field for this defense?
Yeah, both those guys came in the spring, so you're totally right on that one. And they both came because Memphis needed to fill specific roles, because you had Javonte Mackey transfer from Arkansas State, and he was a transfer in the winter, got injured during spring practices and was out for the season. And he was someone who was going to be slated to start at linebacker. And so Memphis needed a linebacker, and that necessitated going after somebody in the portal, and Elijah Herring was there, who obviously comes in as Tennessee's leading tackler from last year. And then at cornerback, Diego Brumfield was a starter last year. He leaves and goes to Mississippi State. Memphis needs a cornerback. They go out and get Kobe Minor. And so at that point, you can kind of use the spring portal window to look for specific pieces, whereas you can tell that a lot of coaches in the winter, they're kind of just generate talent because you don't know who's going to leave. You don't know what positions you want. What you saw from Ryan Silverfield in the spring was really going after specific positions and addressing needs that his team had. And so those were two big ones on the defense, and he filled both of them. And so Kobe Minor has been a very important piece. His tackling has been really impressive, too, in the first couple of games. Obviously, we haven't seen a lot of downfield passing against Memphis, and so credit to the Memphis secondary. But the tackling from everybody, including the secondary, has been really impressive. And then Elijah Herring, I mean, it was a breakout game for him, at least in Memphis. Obviously, he played very well for Tennessee last year. Just was in complete control of the game. I mean, you just don't often see that defensively. Somebody as a linebacker who's just totally dominating the game is in complete control. The fumble was just an amazing play. The running back was going down, and he just ripped the ball out and had it by the time they both landed on the ground. It was never even out, really. He just took it. And it was a really impressive play. And if he plays like that, obviously knowing what Chandler Martin can do, what Matt Hudson has done at linebacker, that's the strength of this team, and the defense is just looks so impressive.
Yeah.
Jonah Dillon with us from the Commercial Appeal. He's on the Tigers football beat. He's on our Sissy's Log Cabin guest line. He joins us every Monday during the college football season to talk the the Memphis Tigers. I know everybody talks about playing downhill and imperative to get off to a good start. You don't want to dig a hole early on the road anywhere, but especially not at FSU. All that aside, what are some of the early keys, early indicators for people watching that you would go, okay, off and running, good start?
To me, it's the run game on both sides, because we talked about it before with Florida State not looking great in the trenches so far, but that's still a huge concern for Memphis is can you hold up against these lines, especially on offense. If Memphis is running the ball early consistently and Mario Anderson is able to reel off 6-7 yard runs consistently, I think Florida State is in a lot of trouble, because if they could do that, we saw even Memphis struggling to run the ball against North Alabama, right? So if Memphis is running the ball well against Florida State, I think a lot of things are going to open up, and Florida State's going to have trouble containing them. On the other side of the ball, watch the trenches too in terms of Florida State's run game. But let's see what happens when Florida State tries to throw the ball downfield. They're going to try to do it. We're expecting that they're going to have more success doing it than they did against Boston College. But if they try to throw the ball down the field in the first couple drives and throws are way off, or throws are getting intercepted, or receivers aren't on the same page, I think that's going to be a huge tell for where this game is going.
Mm-hmm. I've heard some people say, some fans I've talked to, some of my buddies that I've talked to, kind of talking about this game against Florida State, and something that we've kind of mentioned already a couple times, the fact that Florida State is 0-2, and how it'd be much bigger if Florida State was 2-0 to start the season, if they were in the top 25 and Memphis went and pulled the upset. I've had some people tell me that they think even with a win over this Florida State team, that it would hurt or not help at all Memphis's chances for the college football playoff, because in their mind, this was such a marquee game on the schedule for the Tigers and their hopes of the college football playoff. But in my mind, this game really doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, you still got to go out and take care of business in conference play. How has people that you've talked to, readers of yours, have you felt that same response from those people of kind of a little disappointed about how Florida State has started the season, I guess?
Yeah, well, I mean, I definitely understand the disappointment, because you wanted to go play a top 10 team on the road, because obviously it's just a huge opportunity for your program. I think there's been a little bit of an overcorrection, because a lot of this game is going to be about perception going forward. It's not about, because Memphis, like you said, Memphis' goal is to win the AAC championship, and that has to be the first goal in terms of getting to the college football playoffs. So going against Florida State, whatever state their program is in, it's not important until you look up at the end of the season. And that's going to come into perception, probably. So right now, people are saying, if Memphis loses, and they just lost to this team that looked so bad the first two games. And again, Florida State is being hurt significantly by the fact that they were playing in front of everybody who's a college football fan in the country twice. It's very rare that would happen. And so I think, like you said, I think it matters for Memphis in the sense that momentum-wise it's going to be big, and it could be important if you get to the end of the season and there's some sort of close competition between a Memphis and a Boise State. And obviously we saw what Boise State did against Oregon last weekend, and was very impressive and was very close to winning that game. So I think there's a chance there for Memphis, but if I was a fan, I wouldn't be concerned about it at this point in the season. If you're looking up at the end of the season and we're talking about was the Florida State win big or something like that, that means you've had a really good season. And so I think they've got to get there first.
Jonah, today at Ryan Silverfield's Monday availability, when asked about being ranked in the coaches poll, came in at 25th, one behind Nebraska, one in front of Texas A&M to be in the top 25. When he asked what he thought about it, he said, and I take him completely sincerely on this, he said, means nothing. I juxtapose that answer that I really believe, and if you don't want to go down this, Jonah, I don't want to drag you into it, but I think that's part of the contrast of the Ryan Silverfield versus Penny Hardaway. Penny, in any ranking, or winning the NIT, or winning the AAC postseason tournament, that was a big W. Let me take that one back. But last year, getting ranked, he wanted to take the victory lap on validation. It feels like to me Ryan Silverfield really means nothing.
Well, it's a hard one. I mean, that's and to be fair, Ryan Silverfield, that's the line we've heard before. We heard it when Memphis was picked to win the AAC preseason. It means absolutely nothing. And so people who watch or at all of Ryan Silverfield's press conferences, like yours truly, will remember that one. But I think with football, you're in a situation, and kind of goes back to what we were just talking about. Like, we can talk, we get to the playoff conversation, we're talking about people sitting in a room deciding who should be in the postseason and who shouldn't. And that's obviously where we get with basketball, with the tournament. But with football, the difference is for now, you just have to focus on winning the conference championship, and that has nothing to do with anybody's perception of you. All you have to do is win, be in the top 2, go to the conference championship game, and win that game. And so rankings and stuff, that doesn't factor into anything until the end of the season. And that kind of goes back in line with what we've heard from Ryan Silverfield, which makes sense. He said, look, we can talk about the playoff all you want, but our goal is to win the AAC championship, which makes sense because you can't go to the playoff without winning the AAC championship anyway. And then you look up and see where you are. So in terms of rankings now, it's good for the program in terms of perception, which could be important when we get to the end of the season. But for now, he's right. I mean, it does mean nothing. It doesn't affect what's going to happen with this team. And if they don't win on Saturday, they're not going to be ranked anymore. So then that'll be the end of it. And so it's there's a lot of things that go into it, but I think he's right in the sense that at this point in the season, it's not a huge story.
Yeah. One of the fun stories during Saturday's game against Troy was Ja Morant being there. He's standing behind the end zone, and I'm not sure if that was his first Tiger game that he's been to, but I couldn't remember another time that I remember so much talk about Ja Morant being there. But there was the one video where Memphis scored a touchdown, a couple offensive linemen ran over and interacted with Ja Morant. But then there was the picture of Dr. Ed Scott, the new athletic director, down there talking with Ja Morant. Ed Scott has had a very busy start to the job as AD for Memphis. He comes in, all of the construction for football. He's got to hire a softball coach. A lot of stuff going on with, obviously, football season about to start. Tiger basketball, a lot of news happening last week. It's been a lot, but it feels like he is completely nailed everything since taking over. What have you thought? I know still very early for Ed Scott. What have you thought about the job Ed Scott has done these last couple of weeks since he's taken over as AD?
Yeah, well, first of all, we definitely need to know what he and Ja were talking about.
Absolutely.
That's my number one. And that's why, next time I see Ed Scott, I'm going to have to ask him about that because they were sitting there together for a pretty good amount of time. They were shown together on the Jumbotron. Yeah. So we definitely need to get to the bottom of that. I think, look, it's been really impressive what he's done so far in terms of he's been very open and transparent in terms of goals. Mm-hmm. It goes back to his introductory press conference. He came out and said, we're trying to go to a power conference. He said that since multiple times. He's been very honest about the situation that the basketball program is in, right? We saw his comments last week about Penny Hardaway and about what's going on there. And, it's good certainly from our perspective in the media. We love transparency, right? So that's good. He's ultimately going to be judged on how he's able to navigate these situations and where he's able to take Memphis. So if he takes Memphis to a power conference, I think people are going to be happy. And so I think he's done well so far in terms of trying to get people kind of on the same page, get fans excited. But ultimately it comes down to how these things play out and what big picture decisions you make and how those affect the future of the program and of the university. And look, it's been a month, so obviously we don't expect him to make any huge decisions in that time frame. Mm-hmm. But certainly it's been exciting so far. It feels like it's an exciting time to be around these programs and to be talking about them. And I think people around the programs and coaches and everybody are excited too, and that's obviously very important.
Mm-hmm. Last thing for you, Jonah, before we let you go, do you have a prediction for Saturday's game against Florida State?
I've got to crunch the numbers a little bit. I took Florida State preseason. I know that goes against everything that Stack stands for in his pick, which he made. I want to say months ago. So I remember that, by the way. You were ahead of everybody on Memphis beating Florida State. But it's tough. I think I'm leaning Florida State just because I think that team is going to have used these 2 weeks, not only to improve, but Mike Norvell has gone to them and said, look, this is it. You guys we have 2 weeks to figure this out. And if this team is going to be anything, it has to happen now. It has to happen in this game against Memphis. And I think this is going to be the best shot of this team playing at home. I just feel like they might have a little bit more, but I don't expect it to be a blowout either way. I think it's going to be a close game.
Jonah, I can't wait till Saturday. I know you're the very same way, and you always like something fun to write, and you've got it. You got great subject matter, and Saturday down in Tallahassee will be something.
Yep, I can't wait. I've had this one circled on my calendar since the day I got here last summer. So I can't wait for it.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Jonah, as always, thanks for joining us. Enjoy this weekend, and we'll do it again next Monday.
Yep, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jonah.
Brian, I will not take anybody next Monday or even after the aftermath on Saturday poo-pooing the Tigers in victory because it's not their job for them to have Florida State beat Georgia Tech and beat Boston College and keep their lofty ranking.
Yeah,
their one assignment is Saturday.
Right.
And by the same token, if I'm wrong about my summertime proclamation and I felt great about it, probably felt better about it when FSU was the behemoth than I do now as the wounded rally around last hope to save the season. I promise you next Monday I will be able to quickly, they lost to FSU, now win the AAC.
That's right. Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, and we've been saying this ever
I
since.
still think it's free shot.
Sure. I mean, exactly. And that's the end of the day. Win, lose, or draw on Saturday, you just got to go win the conference. And
I don't care the margin because if the margin, I don't think it will, but if it got untidy, if it got a little bit ugly, budgets and stars matter. 4 stars and 5 stars matter.
No, it absolutely does. So
I just don't want Memphis. I don't want the win poo-pooed, and I don't want the loss to feel to have a hopelessness about it.
No, I'm with you. I'm with you because it's a long game in this day and age of the college football playoff, and they definitely have a lot in front of them no matter what happens on Saturday. But it hopefully will be a really good game and very favorable for the Tigers. But we're going to be talking about this game all week long as we get closer and closer to the action from Tallahassee on Saturday morning. But we need to get to a break right now. And when we come back, Monday Night Football, it's back. Monday Night Countdown on ESPN's going on the television. It's very weird to see Jason Kelsey at a desk talking football instead of playing football. We need to get to a break. When we come back, we'll make our pick and preview for Monday Night Football. We'll also get to our best 4 players all time for the 49ers and Jets. We'll do that next on Sportstime.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows. Stay up to date with station events and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Jason's Deli. When you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises. Just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it. Because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com. So whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Popper Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli is wholesome food and no surprises.
Country music singer-songwriter Kylie Morgan loves her ring from Genesis Diamonds.
Napa Cafe celebrates 26 years in 2024. Hi, I'm Glenda Hastings, owner of Napa Cafe, and I want to thank you for making us part of your dining experiences. Treat yourself tonight with a delightful dinner. Maybe start with an appetizer like our baked sweet peculiar peppers stuffed with goat cheese and mozzarella, finished with basil pistou, and move on to one of our cozy dishes like the double chocolate stout braised boneless beef short ribs with tonkatsu sauce and creamy mashed potatoes. or a fresh seafood dish like our pan-roasted ginger-buttered sea bass with cilantro soy vinaigrette. I get hungry just talking about it. Don't forget about dessert, our famous sweet buttermilk pie with brown sugar sauce, or drink your dessert with one of our signature dessert cocktails, like the lemon cheesecake martini, lemony, icy, frothy, and dusted with graham cracker crumbs. Napa Cafe, open Wednesday through Saturday for dinner starting at 5 o'clock. For reservations, visit our website at napacafe.com. Come join us as we celebrate 26 years of Napa Cafe. We can't wait to serve you.
Chris Price here for Brian Elder Roofing. For nearly 2 decades, we've installed some of the best roof systems across the Mid-South. To the tens of thousands of clients we've served, we are honored. So many of you call our team at Brian Elder Roofing your roofers. Our team is dedicated to serving you and keeping your family safe, dry, and mold-free. The recent hailstorms have caused massive damage, and many of these will go unnoticed for years, even though the golf ball-sized hail we just experienced in the Mid-South compromises even the best-built roof system. Whether we find damage or not, your photos are securely stored for future reference. Call Brian Elder Roofing today for a total evaluation of your entire roof system free. We will not try to sell you a roof if all you need is a repair. Call me at 901-867-0303. That's 901-867-0303. Or visit us online at brianelderroofing.com.
There's an institution in East Memphis that I love talking about. It's the Spirit Shop at 4848 Poplar Avenue, right down the street from Clark Tower, and it looks like a log cabin. It's been around Memphis since 1969 with a family-owned, friendly, knowledgeable sales staff that is just a wonderful place to go. I love going in and talking wine or bourbons, and they've got such great selection. So if you've not visited the Spirit Shop in a while, it's been remodeled. You'll love what you see when you need spirits. Tell Eddie Wallow said hello.
Sports 56 traffic.
Good afternoon. They're working with a couple of accidents out here. Just busy where you would expect on 240 East, trying to work your way past Poplar. It's carrying a steady flow of traffic on 40 East from Sycamore View Road all the way out past Germantown Parkway, headed on out into Fayette County. Still looks good south of Memphis on the interstate. It's moving on 55 down through DeSoto County. Make a difference by adopting a pet at Humane Society of Memphis and Shelby County. Check out the animals that are available for adoption by logging on to Memphis humane.org. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Well, Monday Night Football is back, and it's good to hear that intro at 5:30 on a Monday afternoon. So we got to talk about this game. We got to make our picks. We've also got to do top 4 all-time players for Jets and 49ers. One combined list of the 4 all-time greats. But I'm really excited for this game tonight. I'm really curious to see what this 49ers offense looks like with finally getting those deals done for a couple big-time players. What does this Jets defense look like? Jets defense has been so good and just getting older. What do they look like against this San Francisco offense? I think this is going to be a tremendous game to wrap up week 1 in the NFL.
Isn't Monday Night Football just a staple of life?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, for sports
100%.
fans, appointment TV. For me, in a lot of the 70s, it was hinged to grades, behavior, clean bedroom, things like that. And back then, Brian, kickoff wasn't until about 8:10 Central Time on Monday night. So there was a lot of times, it was lights out for the second half. And then that's when I fell in love with listening to Jack Buck and Hank Stram on CBS radio in bed listening to the second half because lights had to be out. But radio was on. Monday Night Football, really part of the fabric of all of our sports lives. And look at these two teams, talking about two different directions. Last year, the Jet season essentially over on opening night football, on Monday Night Football, when Aaron Rodgers got hurt. The 49ers season wasn't over till the last play of the year at the Super Bowl. The Jets come into this year with the longest active playoff drought in the NFL, having not made the postseason since 2010. The 49ers, the opposite of that. They've been right there, only to fall short. This weekend in the NFL, I went 4-3. Bryant, you went 4-3. Darian went 4-3. Connor went 2-5. Tonight, it's 3.5 at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara. Should we even go through with it and have Darian pick? We know who he's picking.
Absolutely. Only because of the number. Only because of the number. Had they given the Jets more points, I may have taken 6 or 7, but 3.5, I'll give that all day long.
I'm with you on that. I like the 49ers in this game. I love their roster. I love their coach. I think their coach, one of the top 2 or 3 coaches in the sport. Robert Saleh came from the Bay Area, came from the 49ers where he ran the defense. So he's back out there where his coaching chops were really formed. I'm going to take the 49ers as well, and I'm going to pick them to win 27-17. Bryant, do you have the Dacus brothers picks?
I do, and after hearing the results of
and the
weekend,
chuckle and the brotherly chuckle, I heard it.
I don't like what side I'm on because Connor is taking the Jets plus 3.5. It's actually funny because, as you know, Brett, we never push. We always add the hook in there, and I mistakenly texted Connor asking him what his pick was for tonight, and I said, it's San Francisco -3. He very quickly texted me back and said, I will take San Francisco. And then I said, actually, I'm sorry, it's San Francisco -3.5. And he said, oh, no. I will take the Jets. I'm right there with his mindset on. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think you've got a good offense versus a really good defense. You've got Aaron Rodgers back. We remember what this offense was supposed to look like with Aaron Rodgers back there. And so I think it's
Super
going to be
Bowl picks last year.
Exactly. So I think this is going to be a really, really close game, a game that could come down to a last-second field goal. So I will go with the Jets plus 3.5 in this one.
Aaron Rodgers back in the Bay Area where he played high school and college football for the Cal Golden Bears. He's proud of his alma mater. Don't laugh at Connor too much. He was 4-1 in college this weekend to take him to 9-4 for the year.
Wow.
Bryant, you were 4-1 as well. You're 8-5 on the year. Darian, you were 2-3 in college, 8-5 on the year. I was 2-3 to improve to 3-10 on the year.
Well,
But I did get there with my college football
You sure did.
shock pick, so
You
I got
sure did. You
I got an extra point out of Syracuse, winning straight up over Georgia
about
Tech.
You when that game ended.
Connor got there straight up with Duke.
He sure did.
Friday night over Northwestern.
What a wild game that was. Not a fun game to watch, but it was a wild one.
Bryant, you know the esteem I have for Bruce Marshall, and I text him very same thing, so I'm not talking behind his back. I've never seen what he's seen in Mike Wright, and I still don't now, and I think he's been pulled. I don't think he'll start this week for Northwestern.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I like Mike Wright. It gave me great memories of him at Vanderbilt. Those couple games he was in there running around, slinging it. But yeah, no. He does not look good at Northwestern.
We've had the Mike Wright experience at Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, now at Northwestern.
A lot of places, and it hasn't worked out anywhere.
A lot of places. So 2 of us take the 49ers, 2 of us take the Jets. All the action right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM tonight. If you're at work or you're riding around and you want to listen all time, so it's any 4 players. It could be all 4 from the Jets. It could be all 4 from the 49ers. I think I could make a case easier for all 4 from San Francisco than I could from the Jets. The Jets with one Joe Namath guarantee a long time ago. Who wants to do this first?
It gets tough. I'm not going first. You guys, it gets tough because you said all-time best and not favorite. So I had to go back and redo this because it's not about favorite. This is all-time best.
So you don't have Joe Perry or John Brody in there for the 49ers?
No.
Don Maynard or George Sauer?
Don Maynard was almost on my...
Almost?
All right. I think
Johnny
you should
Sample
go first with all of your 49ers gear on. I want to know if you have any Jets on.
I do. Okay, I'll go
your
first. Okay, I actually do.
top
My first
four.
and my only Jet because it just became so hard once you said best. Darrelle Revis. When you have an island called Revis Island, he was one of the first people to kind of dominate the Patriots on that standpoint. Where
That's a really good.
you know. Tom Brady didn't want to throw that way. No one else did, but Revis
Sauce
Island
is headed that way.
Yeah, but Revis was a different. He was a different.
But
cat.
he's there.
Plus,
He's got an island.
Plus, from the money standpoint, he was one of the first cornerbacks to, no pun intended, cornered the market on how you get paid. Kind of how LeBron does or used to do the 1+1 deals. That was kind of the same model that Darrelle Revis took, and he got paid off of it. So Darrelle Revis would be my only Jet on there. I'm going to stay away from that. Oh, my God. Okay, for my Niners, this got tough, but I'm going to keep it short and sweet. Charles Haley. Charles Haley was number 3. Number 2, if you cut off a finger, you're my man. Ronnie Lott. And
Cut it off.
Just cut it off. And Joe Cool is Joe Cool, but you got to go with Jerry Rice. I have to go with Jerry Rice. So I'm just going to shut up because I'm going to get in trouble somewhere along the line here because there's so many. I mean, just take it, guys. Just take it. Don't do me like.
All right, I'll go. Okay. My number 1 all-time. I have him as my number 2 all-time NFL player. I have him only behind Tom Brady and 1 in front of Jim Brown. It's number 80. It's Jerry Rice, number 1 all-time. On that same all-time top 10 list, I have as my number 5 all-time player. And don't forget about him with the Niners. Integral on the defensive side and in the return game and some offensive plays when they last won it. Got Deion Sanders.
I didn't give him credit. I didn't give him credit stat because of 1 year. That's the only reason.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I can understand that. So I got Rice 1, Deion 2. Joe Montana's my 8th best player all time, so I have to have him. And then I know heresy with my Alabama friends that don't have Joe Namath, but I do have all time. Now, he hadn't done anything with the Jets, but it's Aaron Rodgers.
That's right, Brett.
That
is right. Yes. Yes.
Only 4 snaps and he's all time. Go ahead.
But he's playing tonight, but he's done nothing with his team, but it's for the players playing tonight.
Absolutely. You're 100% right about that. And I'm going to get in trouble here because how I'm going to justify this is going to be interesting. I'll start with an OLI. You always got to have an outside looking in. My OLI is Kyle Shanahan. The way he makes those offensive players look great, I don't care if he's not a player. He counts for me. OLI, Kyle
really
Shanahan.
Wasn't the assignment,
well,
but okay.
It's okay. You got to give him a shout out. Number 4, Aaron Rodgers. Just like Brett was saying. How could you have a top 4 list of all-time players and Aaron Rodgers be on one of the teams and not
if he got on the hurt on the first play again this year, he's still playing tonight.
Exactly. So I definitely have Aaron Rodgers on my list. After that, it's all 49ers. Ronnie Lott, number 3 for me. Joe Montana, number 2. And Jerry Rice, number 1. No Deion for me, Brett. Only because I just don't see him as a 49er, which gets me in trouble because I have Aaron Rodgers on my list, and I don't think anybody sees Aaron Rodgers
It's
as
how
a
much I
Jet
think
player.
of Deion Sanders, and I don't care how this ends at Colorado. You cannot deny him out there between those lines. Whether it was with Washington or the Ravens or the Falcons or the Cowboys or the if he put on their uniform, and we do this all year, I'm going to have him listed.
I love that. I love that. I love Deion. And
same for Jerry Rice. With, kind of, and Montana at the end with the Chiefs. Rice at the end with a couple different.
And Brian, I'm like you. If I were to do a coach, it would be Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh would be my coach.
That's a really good
and,
one.
And the one Jet that I struggle with, because if it wasn't for him, it wouldn't be a conversation of who's the greatest quarterback of all time, because we probably never would have saw Tom Brady. It's Mo Lewis. When Mo Lewis took out Drew Bledsoe, he changed the course of history. He absolutely changed history with that.
Great point by you.
Really is a great point. Darren, I like your case for Charles Haley.
Yeah.
When we get around to the Cowboys, that'd be tough.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because Charles Haley, he went from one team to another and won back-to-back championships.
It is solely your decision. You supplant Gary Myers. You're in the Hall of Fame room. Yes or no? Do you put George Seifert in the Pro Football Hall of Fame?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. Seifert is my guy. Absolutely.
One of
And
the
he was
hardest
cool.
jobs in sports is to coach the Galaxy of Stars team, and he did it.
And I think he, along with Steve Young, had a chip on their shoulder because Joe left and then Walsh left, and it's kind of like we're second tier, but we're Hall of Famers ourselves in our own right. So both of them stepped up to the plate. Shout out to Roger Craig too, Brett Jones.
I agree.
Oh my goodness, just
Don't
win
forget
for
old
me
Miss
tonight.
Rebel Wesley Walls too in there.
Don't forget Patrick Willis. We never brought up Patrick Willis. I mean, there's so many. Al Toon for the Jets. I mean, come on.
T.O. for the Niners.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. T.O. Absolutely. Tim McDonald, Merton Hanks, like those
Curtis
are my guys.
Martin for the Jets.
Curtis Martin
I don't
for the
think we
Jets.
mentioned-
Absolutely.
probably
Curtis
should.
Martin for the Jets.
Huh. I think we can sit here the rest of the show and Darren
This
can
is
just
fun.
list
This
off
is
his
fun.
favorite
But no,
49ers.
I have an affection for the Jets as well.
That's right.
Jets as well.
I don't.
Let's say you don't.
I don't really care for the Jets. Other than this, I like this group of the Jets. Like,
No, it's a long time.
Brett, no Mark
Joe
Gastineau?
Willis.
No Mark Gastineau?
No, he was good, but I like Marty. I like Marty Lyons better than I did Gastineau.
I like Kevin Mawai. He was solid at center
For
back
sure.
in the day.
Mark Sanchez.
But
It's time to go to the break. Just automatically go to the break, Darren.
You go to the break after.
I think so. I'll do it for our Monday Night Football preview. Let's get to our final break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up today's show with Crunch Time.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to real sports talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Hello, sports fans out there. Walker Taylor here with the Germantown and Collierville Commissary. We just celebrated our 43rd year in business, and I would like to thank our fantastic customers and especially our loyal staff. Time has flown by. We now have a second location, Poplar and Houston Levy in Collierville. Catering is a specialty of ours. 50 to 5,000, no job too small, no job too big. Full service or self-service. We also have a party room in Collierville that is great for rehearsal dinners, business meetings, you name it, we'd love to have you. Also, our barbecue party packs start at $8.75 a person. Barbecue, beans, slaw, bun sauce, including serving utensils. Especially great for tailgating with football season coming up. The commissary restaurants also believe in giving back to the community. Possibly you have been approached by somebody selling a barbecue 6-pack coupon for fundraising. Cheerleading groups, church groups, anything to help a worthy cause. Holidays are near. Smoked hams and smoked turkeys will be on the pit before you know it. Come see us at Germantown and Collierville Commissary. Also check us out at commissarybarbecue.com.
Family Leisure is having the world's biggest spa sale. It's happening right now. You can save thousands on in-stock hot tubs that are ready to be delivered. Family Leisure has spas that start at just $28.99. You know those cold plunges? You can get one for yourself starting at $39.99. Or how about swim spas? They start at $17,499. Plus, Family Leisure has set up special financing just for this event. Have you been sitting on the fence about an above-ground pool? Get off that fence and get to Family Leisure to take advantage of huge discounts on all their in-stock above-ground pools. And if you need some patio furniture, it's all priced to move out now. It's not too late to have some summer fun, courtesy of Family Leisure. But you better hurry up. The world's biggest spa sale might go on forever. Family Leisure, Whitten Road at I-40. Family and fun come together.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roofing. In these uncertain economic times, there are so many things as a contractor and a business owner that I cannot control. The rising cost of materials, not to mention fuel and transportation costs. In the last 2 years, shingle prices have almost doubled, and commercial materials have doubled. And I don't have to tell you what fuel costs these days. But you know what I can control? How much markup I put on a project. I have always prided myself in knowing I never gouge a customer. But in an effort to ensure my crews have work and my customers are being treated fairly, I have lowered my profit margin, hoping to give you a price you can live with and keeping my crews busy. So if you need a roof or gutters, please give us a call. Fiveash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. Fiveash Roofing, a proud sponsor of Tiger Athletics and a member of the Tigers home team. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
The best I do's start with Sissy's Blue. Discover bridal jewelry worthy of your big day at Sissy's Log Cabin, along with our spectacular experience that comes with our promise of exceptional quality, service, and brilliant natural diamonds. Experience our expansive selection when you stop by any of our 6 locations or shop online at sissyslogcabin.com. Find your perfect engagement ring only at Sissy's Log Cabin, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Brian Davis.
This is pretty cool, and we're just getting started, so.
Spanning the globe.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is for all the biggest crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
Well, Brett, what I learned today is that at the end of the day, these rookie quarterbacks that have gotten a ton of hype through the draft process, after the draft, through preseason, at the end of the day, they're still rookies in the NFL. I don't think you take anything negatively away from how they played in week 1, but the ones that played didn't look great after the first game of the season. Here are all the quarterbacks that were drafted in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. Caleb Williams, he was taken number 1 overall. He was 14 for 29, 93 yards. He was sacked twice and gained 15 yards on 5 carries. Number 2 overall pick, Jaden Daniels, 17 for 24, 184 yards through the air. Also sacked twice. He also led the team in rushing with 88 yards and 2 touchdowns on 16 carries. The number 3 overall pick, Drake May, did not play, but the Patriots got a big win over Cincinnati. The number 8 overall pick and the 4th quarterback taken, Michael Penix Jr., did not play. 10th overall pick, J.J. McCarthy. We know he's out for the season. And finally, the 12th overall pick, Bo Nix, 26 for 42, the most completions by any of the quarterbacks. He had 138 yards and 2 interceptions. He was also sacked twice. He also led his team in rushing with 35 yards and a touchdown on 5 carries. But here's the big takeaway for Bo Nix. He only threw 11 of his 26 passes, 10 yards or more down the field all day. He was just checking down short passes left and right. Not a great start of the season for all 3 of these quarterbacks, but we know all of these guys will improve as the year goes on. I think that's definitely the biggest takeaway.
All those checkdowns for Bo Nix, that was straight from the head coach. He doesn't want to destroy him.
Nope.
You can wreck a young quarterback, and he doesn't want him wrecked this early. Let's just take this nice and easy. What I learned, a second huge contract, an opening day win, and all the pressure in the world, a star on each side of that helmet for Dak Prescott. Can you imagine the pressure on him now? There's one thing that hadn't changed with Dak Prescott. He's still more Tony Romo than he is Troy Aikman, 2-5 in playoffs, keeping him kind of in the G. Willikers, Tony Romo league.
Absolutely. I still cannot believe that he got paid what he got paid yesterday morning. But hey, if he plays like he played yesterday, if he plays up to it, I'll be happy.
His press conference, he said he had an obligation to the league to do so. So that was purposeful for him to try to get that.
Yeah, of course. What I could have done without 2 things, and Darian, I hope you're sitting down for this. Just coming down, breaking news. Christian McCaffrey is inactive tonight against the Jets. Holy cow.
Saving them for the Super Bowl. That's all.
Picks are down.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about
Darren,
that?
We can't bail. No cross outs.
No, not at all. That is crazy news.
Matt Breida, step right up. tonight. Step right up.
An hour before kickoff time for that big game in the NFL. The other thing I could have done without today, actor James Earl Jones passed away earlier today. Was born in Mississippi January 17th, 1931. Passed away earlier today. I bring this up because he was part of one of my favorite sports movies of all time, Field of Dreams, a massive part in that, but in a ton of movies, Star Wars, Coming to America, was the voice in The Lion King.
The voice.
He is the voice. So definitely a great life for him, but definitely sad news today that he passed away.
It sure is. I could have done without, and I bet that some of the same people that thought Michigan could replace Jim Harbaugh with Sharon Moore thought Antonio Pierce would beat Jim Harbaugh on opening day. No way. Harbaugh now 5-0 on opening day in the NFL. Harbaugh's first NFL win since his last game with the 49ers, September 28th, 2014, to wrap up the year against Arizona. He's going to win big with the Chargers.
Yeah, I think so. I really liked what I saw from the Chargers yesterday in Jim Harbaugh's first win. We also got an good old-fashioned scuffle in the end zone of that game.
A real fight.
A real one. They were getting after it. Well, where are you beaming tonight?
Beam me to Monday Night Football at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. 49ers looking to win their first Super Bowl since the 94 season. The Jets looking to win their to add to their only Super Bowl since the 1968 season. January 12th, 1969, the famous Joe Namath guarantee cashed in. January 29th, 1995, Steve Young wins it all against the San Diego Chargers.
Yeah, I'm beaming there as well. That game should be a lot of fun tonight. But I wouldn't mind either beaming up to New York and going and checking the Yankees game out with
hanging out with Dave and Sarah.
Yeah, that would be a lot of fun. That should be a good game night. Yankees and Royals. That should be fun tonight. Some good baseball games on tap.
Let's see, and let's hope Aaron Rodgers lasts longer than last year. Brock Purdy. When will he make people believe the running back matchup was going to be good, and now we'll just be watching Breece Hall and Robert Sala's return to the Bay Area? Leonard Floyd's hit last year on Rodgers. He's be facing him tonight, too.
Yeah.
He will be facing him.
It's going to be a fun Monday night football game, but definitely some questions now. That sounds like Christian McCaffrey will not play tonight for San Francisco. But that's all the time we have. Enjoy your night. We'll talk to you again tomorrow afternoon.